What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? D-Bot, Rico. It's Rico in Bot on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Friday night to cap off a wild week, Rico. Story after story after story. We'll dive into Trey Hendrickson being given a opportunity to seek a trade from the Cincinatti Bengals. We will talk about Terrel being extended by the Buffalo Bills, 4 years, $50 million. We'll talk about the latest in the Myles Garrett and DK Metcalf saga. But we begin tonight with breaking news. Rico, your initial thoughts when you heard Geno Smith is joining the AFC, Seattle trading the quarterback to the Las Vegas Raiders. Talk to me.
Well, I tell you this, I didn't have a lot of hope for what the Raiders were going to do this year. No quarterback. The running back is anemic. The running back position is anemic. I mean, who are they throwing the ball to? I mean, they only have a tight end, right? That wonderful rookie tight end, but that's as far as it goes. There wasn't a whole lot. And then Geno just gave them a little bit of life with Pete Carroll at head coach. So you kind of knew something was in the works. I mean, apparently there was some cryptic messages coming from Geno Smith leading to his departure out of Seattle. And lo and behold, it's happened. Geno Smith to the Raiders for, I believe, a third-round pick.
Third-round pick, and he wants a new contract
on the deal.
Rico, he wants anywhere between $40 and $45 million a year. Geno Smith.
I'll tell you what, he should get it, and I'll tell you why he should get it.
Okay.
Because the stupid Giants set the precedence by giving $40 million to Daniel Jones. So if you gave $40 million to Daniel Jones, and I'm no Daniel Jones, I want my 40 at minimum. At minimum, you're going to give him my 40, and he should get it. He should absolutely get it.
Well, clearly, though, I'll tell you who thought he shouldn't get it was the Seattle Seahawks. That has to be the reason why they dealt him. He had to have been saying to them, look, this is what I'm after. Seattle must have heard that from him and said, look, we're not going to be willing to give it to you. And that's why the trade was made. At least that's how I see it. What I found to be interesting, though, this trade was indeed made. You mentioned it, Rico, a third-round pick traded by the Las Vegas Raiders to the Seattle Seahawks for Geno Smith. Couple of major questions come to mind here. We'll get to that in a second. But what I found to be the most interesting about this move is that there was another offer on the table. I don't know if you saw this.
Oh,
the Seattle Seahawks offered a package deal to the Raiders. They offered Geno and DK for Max Crosby, and the Raiders shot it down. How about that? Now, you want to talk about a blockbuster. That would have been a blockbuster.
That would have absolutely been a blockbuster because that would have had a receiver, a bona fide number one receiver, along with a quarterback that has chemistry with him. It just makes sense. Former head coach. It would have gave a little bit of life to the Raiders in that tough AFC West. But the Raiders knew better. They absolutely knew better and said, you know what? We got ourselves a baller over here that bleeds, that wants to win. And we're not about to give that away to Seattle. And we have a lot more respect for Max Crosby than to send him away to Seattle. No, if he's going to stay on a team that is challenged, why not stay where the team that drafted him, you mean pretty much developed him? If I'm going to lose, let me lose with the team that I'm familiar with, and I'm familiar with the city. Don't send me to Seattle to sit there and lose in Seattle. Nah, I'm good. So, but what that tells me though is DK is absolutely available. He is absolutely available, and we can talk about. Well, that was a package deal, but if that package deal didn't happen, we're keeping. No. If you are willing to part ways with DK, you're willing to part ways with him. Period. So now we just have to play the long game. The long game is we wait it out and figure out how serious they are on moving DK Metcalf. Is he a fit with Buffalo? Would he be a nice fit with Josh Allen, or is that a pipe dream? Are we not getting it? Do we not have the money, and are we willing to give up these picks for him? How do you feel about when you heard this blockbuster trade that could have been, but didn't go through?
Well, I'll tell you what my initial thought is here. The Raiders have gotten very sneakily interesting over the last few months. They now have Tom Brady as a minority owner. Pete Carroll's back in the league as the head coach. I love Pete Carroll. Massive Pete Carroll fan. The Raiders need a culture changer.
Yes,
Pete Carroll is that. Pete Carroll is one of those rare coaches that has been able to win at every level. One of those rare coaches that has a title at the college level and at the pro level. And he's a guy that is wise, of course, based on the amount of time he's been coaching, but young, way past the actual age that he is. I mean, the guy, I love him. So they have what I find to be a much needed culture changer at the head coaching position now. Yep. They have some modern day progressive leadership in Tom Brady, which I think can't be overstated. You now add Geno Smith, who, look, is he Allen, Lamar, Mahomes? No, but he's better than what they've had the last several seasons. Facts. You mentioned it. You mentioned Brock Bowers, probably the best rookie tight end we've ever seen. And if that continues, he's going to be on a short list when it's all said and done, if he can continue to do what he did last year. You give Max Crosby that massive deal. So now Max Crosby is going to remain a Raider. I don't know. I'm not saying that they're going to be this, 12-win team this year, but my initial thought here after the last couple of months here, piece by piece, Raiders are starting to get a little bit interesting to me here, Rico.
You know what? You said it. They're starting to be a little bit more interesting because at first, when you realize, okay, they don't have a quarterback, they don't have a running back, the receiver room is like, who cares? Brock Bowers is the only bright spot on that team. You're like, okay, another wasted season. Tom Brady going over there. I mean, what's he really going to be able to do? Well, they've pretty much, if you don't mean when someone's dehydrated, right? That was the Raiders. The Raiders were dehydrated in the desert, right? And here comes Tom Brady. Here comes Pete Carroll. A little bit of IV, right? You're not all the way back, but you're nimble. You can move around. You got some fluids in you now. So now we'll see what they do with this free agency period coming up. Then we'll see what they do in this draft, and then we go from there. So now it makes me wonder: are they content with Geno? And if Geno's asking for that big bag, are they just going to go? If I don't know, Sanders falls to number 7, you're going to skip on Sanders because you got Geno? So this is where they have to tread carefully here. Do you go and give him the big bag? Is he just a filler because you're going to bring in the likes of Sanders? He's going to sit behind. I mean, if I know Geno's going to be like, yo, y'all gave me the bag. You guys tried to do that to me in Seattle, and I prevailed, and I'm going to prevail here as well. I'm still a former first-round draft pick. I can still play. So this will be very interesting on what these Raiders do. And if they decide to give him 40 mil or 40 plus, I mean, shoot, we're about to see what takes place. But let's keep it all the way real. He's just a filler until their young quarterback is in. Question is, are they even going to get one in this draft? And I don't think it's going to happen. So this is where the Raiders say, you know what? This is what we're going to do for the next 2 to 3 years. It's
interesting, right? Because for a third-round pick, you're not beholden to this guy. Like you just said, if somebody else comes along, I don't see the Raiders getting a quarterback in this draft. I would almost guarantee Sanders and Ward are gone by the time I know Sanders' draft stock is allegedly dropping like flies, but I don't see that happening this upcoming draft. But to your point, a third-round pick, you're not like all the way in on Geno here to the point where you feel obligated to have to pay him. His contract is up after this season, though, Rico. This is his last year on his deal. The quarterback market right now is insane. If Geno Smith were to get $45 million, he would officially be making more than Josh Allen on an average salary per year amount. The market right now is insane because Patrick Mahomes right now, Rico, is $45 million a year. Yep. You mentioned Daniel Jones. That's one part of it, of course. That's one part of an ever-ending list of guys that are currently 40 million plus here, 45 million plus here, really. That just makes you scratch your head. Every time I look at this list, I can't get over it. Some of these guys, 53 million for Tua to me, I'll never get over that. 55 for Trevor Lawrence. You go down the list here. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, his contract's horrendous. Kirk Cousins, that I still can't believe that move was made. But then you look at Geno, and this is where it's weird with the quarterback position. Okay. Because you go into the negotiation period here. If you're Geno, you go into the front office of the Raiders now. And what once used to be a market that was capped off by Tom Brady being able to set the standard, and other quarterbacks would come to the table looking for a new contract, and the agent would easily be shut down by management all you'd have to say is, oh, you think you're Tom Brady? You think you're better than Tom Brady? But here's the thing now. You could say, oh, you think you're better than Allen? You think you're better than Mahomes? The answer would be no. But then you start listing off Lawrence and Tua and Kyler and Deshaun and Kirk. And this is where I think, as insane as it sounds, Geno's not in the wrong looking for $40 to $45 million. Because I think he's just as good, or if not maybe better, than what those guys have put out on the field the last couple of years. So it's pretty wild when you think about it, because it seems high, but this is the precedent that has been set by so many guys going into something like this.
And this is the problem. This is the problem, man. Guys got overpaid for little to no production. And now that the precedent's been set, and I don't want to put Geno in this because he's not an average Joe. He's one of those, he's like a Jacoby Brissett, but a better version of Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett's on the cusp of being a starter, can do well as a starter, and is a very capable backup. That is Geno Smith. But Geno, I'm going to give a little bit more respect to Geno Smith and say he can win you some games. And Geno is absolutely not wrong for wanting those type of numbers. And he's going to get it. Like, you traded for me. And before you traded for me, I'm sure there was some kind of preliminary chat, you know what I mean, with agent to agent that said, hey, if you're going to trade for me, this is what my client's looking for. If you're not about to give it to him, don't bother trading for him. And I'm sure he's going to get his money. He's going to get it. And these guys are looking. Tom Brady is looking around the league and realizing, I don't like what I see. So I'm going to trade for that guy over there, Geno Smith. He'll at least start for me for the next at least 2 years. We got one. Next year is probably a bridge to if they draft somebody. And then if they don't get anybody good enough, you're looking at this guy being there for another 3 years. Geno has had a great career, by the way. He's had a
resurgence that I don't think anybody would have saw coming, right?
And by saying great career, I mean financially. He's done pretty good for himself financially. So kudos to him, man.
If he does get $45 million, he would nearly be doubling his current salary right now. And this is where it gets crazy to me. And Signified's coming in. He's saying, your logic's flawed. Just because teams make stupid ass decisions doesn't mean other teams have to. And you're 100% right, Signified. The problem is the precedent's been set. Yes. So if that team doesn't make that decision, then what's the decision to be had? What's the decision to make? You are, like you just said, Rico, and I mentioned, you're not beholden to paying Geno, but you'd have to imagine there was some talks about paying him if you're going to trade for him. I guess you could play him this year and then franchise tag him next year if you wanted to keep him for 2 years and then have somebody waiting in the wings. But the Raiders do not have somebody waiting in the wings. I don't think they're going to have anybody in the foreseeable future here unless they take somebody like Jackson Dart or one of these quarterbacks that are projected to go later on in the draft here, and then maybe they have something that they can work around. We'll see. But this is where I agree with Signified and I disagree at the same time.
Right.
There are stupid decisions made constantly by these organizations, but once enough of them are made, it gets to the point where it's hard to, the precedent has been set to a point where it's hard to circumvent it, where it's hard to not do the same, because then you're stuck in a position where nobody's going to want to play for you. You're not going to have guys come and play for you because you're not hitting the mark that all these other teams have. So it's really interesting because we don't find ourselves in this spot, so it's hard to relate. But I think about it all the time. I try to put myself in the shoes of a Dolphins fan or a Jaguars fan, right? Where I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe the money being delved out here to these guys, but at the same time, I can believe it because what's the other solution? Just play a backup quarterback and go to the well in the draft every year, even though you're not picking high enough to get a guy that you're confident in, or if you are picking high enough, the guy that you're hoping to be there to be the franchise guy isn't there. It's just a really bad spot to be in for these organizations. And over time here, the pursuit of trying to find an Allen and Mahomes, whatever, has led these teams to overpaying guys because they just don't have that guy, but they also don't want to go back to the bottom either. It's that purgatory we allude to all the time.
Let me put you in a position, because if going back to Signify's comment of like, yo, it's I'm paraphrasing here because I don't know exactly what he said, but like, it's not the organizations are the ones that is setting the precedence. So don't be mad at the player when the player sees. You can't be at your job and you see a guy that has no business making the money he's making, and you know you're a better worker than he is. You're prompt, you're on time, you do a great job, and et cetera, and he just got we'll say a significant pay raise, $20,000 pay raise, and it's been shared amongst everybody. You're sitting there on my next performance evaluation. I am absolutely going to ask for that. And you will, and you should, because then you can say, hey, that employee got that. And I can tell you I've done this. You have to explain to me why you can't pay me that. Well, that was that. No, that's not that. What it is this. Pay me what you paid him, or we have an issue. I'll just go get a job somewhere else that'll value what I bring to the table. Now, obviously, jobs 9 to 5s are completely different than these athletes that get paid, but the premise is still the same. If you pay Daniel Jones, which is a bench player right now for the Minnesota Vikings, you can surely pay me, a guy that has, what was he, comeback player of the year at one point. I've got some accolades under my belt. Don't play with me. Pay me $40 million. I'm not asking for Josh Allen money. He's going to be making big money. I'm not asking for, Jalen Hurts money. Just give me 40.
But at the same time, you, as it stands right now, you kind of are. That's what's crazy about it. Jalen Hurts is making 51. So it's like, this is what's crazy to me. But I love we always use this analogy, and I love it because I think it's the best way to relate to something like this, because you just said it. The 9 to 5 situation we all live in, obviously different than the professional sports realm, but the overall principles of it are pretty much the same. This is what I find interesting about this particular situation, because you mentioned how working in an environment where you see a subpar employee get paid top employee money when you know you're a better employee could be frustrating.
Yep.
This is what's interesting to me. Imagine you're working at that company and the best employee in the history of the industry is now helping run that company. How inclined is he to pay money, top tier money, really, to a guy that he knows isn't of the caliber that type of money should deserve? And of course, I'm talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady knows top tier talent from lesser than. This is what's interesting to me about Tom Brady being in the building. How willing is Tom Brady going to be to sit in a meeting room and sign off on the idea of paying $45 million to a guy like Geno Smith, who I think many would agree is on the outside looking into the top 10 quarterbacks in the league?
Right.
This is what's interesting. It's not like you just have any Joe Schmo in there as owner here. You got a guy that knows his stuff more than anybody and has proven it more than anybody. So you think about that part of it too. Is it this bridge that you mentioned? Is it a long-term solution? I don't know. The problem is, Rico, if it's a bridge, what's at the other end of it? Because right now there's nothing on the other end of that bridge, and I would have to imagine Geno's camp knows that. I mean, the Raiders have nothing waiting.
There it is. Geno's camp knows that. I mean, listen, if you want to take a look at what free agent quarterbacks are out there, let me tell you what Geno's representation is mentioned. Hold on, let me just refresh my page here. Because if I'm Geno's agent, I'm straight up going to Tom Brady and say, Tom, you know the deal. We all know the deal. Don't play it. Let's not play this game, right? Here's what's available, and here, let's talk about it. And then you start rhyming down the quarterbacks. So you can go get Sam Darnold if you want. Oh, you're not a fan of Sam Darnold? Okay, cool. Oh, by the way, you know that Geno's former coach is there, right? Okay, so there's some familiarity. Go get Zach Wilson. Are you big on Zach Wilson? Do you want to start something with Zach Wilson? What about Trey Lance? I didn't think so. Jacoby Brissett, does he move the needle for you? Oh, by the way, it only gets worse. Taylor Heineke, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston. Hey, he's a nice guy. You want Jameis Winston? I didn't think so. So listen, I'm the best of the list. Quit playing with me. Let's get something done. I'm only asking for 40. NFL's making boku money. That little deal, that cap just went up. You guys have a lot of money. Just pay me, man. And I'll give you a great product. Raiders fans can be happy. And let's roll, man. Let's go for the run. Let's try to take down Pat Mahomes and them boys. Let's try to take down the Broncos. Look at Pete Carroll is coming to haunt Jim Harbaugh again. Let's make it happen. And I got my quarterback. Pete Carroll said I got my quarterback. But you look down this list: Joshua Dobbs, Cooper Rush, Easton Stick, Mason Rudolph, Case Keenum, Jimmy Garoppolo, Carson Wentz, Mac Jones. No, you're not. I'm not. At least for me, I'm not taking any of those guys over Geno Smith. So Geno Smith has a point. Give that man his money. That's
you mentioned Sam Darnold a minute ago. I think, is it safe to say, Sam Darnold, you're the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks in 2025?
Well, Kirk Cousins might be in that mix too. You might see Kirk Cousins, Kirk go bangs. make his way over there. So that'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't like the Seattle Seahawks situation. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like what they have. Quarterback. I mean, they got a good nucleus at the running back position, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is it. I don't know too much about the Seattle Seahawks, but you're gonna lose DK, and you're also you just lost Tyler Lockett. Not that Tyler Lockett was gonna do anything special, but yeah, so
that's a long-term staple of that team, right? So you lose him, right?
So are Seattle in rebuilding? Are they rebuilding?
Well, it's really starting to look like that. If you lose Lockett, you lose DK, you lose Geno. The offensive line isn't great. The defense is mid at best. This is going to be a rough year, I would imagine, for the Seahawks this upcoming season. Especially
you got to call it rebuild. By the way, Signify Notes tell me, Rico, relax. You're starting to sound a little delusional. The Geno Smith Raiders aren't taking down the Chiefs. Hey, listen, a lot of folks didn't think Gordon Minshew and the Raiders were going to take down the Chiefs, and they play them tough every single time. So don't give me that. You got a better quarterback in Geno Smith over Gordon Minshew. So or Aiden O'Connell. Give me a break, Signified Knows. Don't start with me today, bro. I'm energized. I got time today. Don't start with me because I got time for you, baby. I got time. So yeah, I am going to start with you, and I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't relaxing. Geno Smith will challenge the Chiefs just like Aiden O'Connell did. And if you don't tell me that if Aiden O'Connell can do it, you don't think Geno Smith can? Let's cut it out, man.
At the very minimum, that division is increasingly better. It seems every year, the AFC West. You're now looking at it where, especially compared to the AFC East, as it currently stands. I mean, you got the Chargers taking a next step. I know they bowed out in a bad way in the playoffs, but they were an awful organization the year prior. Harbaugh got them to the playoffs immediately. Sean Payton got Bo Nix, a rookie, to the playoffs immediately. Now you have the Raiders taking a next step with a better quarterback, signing Max Crosby. You get another year with Brock Bowers. You have a new head coach in Pete Carroll who's proven, and you have you have that added ownership boost with Tom Brady. The West is getting a little bit better year by year, it seems. Not to say they're going to dethrone the Chiefs, but to say that the Chiefs have the easiest path in the AFC to a 1 seed again. I mean, the Bills have got to find a way to get a 1 seed at some point under Allen here. As it stands right now, the Bills have a far easier path division-wise than the Chiefs do at the very minimum.
100%. And that's how the Patriots were able to do what they've done for so many years. Dominate the AFC East, find themselves a bye week, and the path is a lot easier. So the Bills have to take advantage of this weak division. And next year, it may be weaker than it was this year. Maybe the Dolphins get better. I'm not too sure. The Jets, I don't know what the heck's going on with the Jets, and the Patriots are still building. So we have another at least 2 years of still running this thing, maybe 3, and we keep doing it. And Josh is not even in his prime yet. Josh is about to enter his prime. So, buddy, it's going to be a fun one. By the way, we got a comment from Mitch Ledster, Led Robster, my man Money Mitch, says 3 months supporting the best channel on YouTube. The ups, the downs, smiles, and frowns. And we've been through it all. But I'm sorry, but it's not the Jaguars. Let me tell you something. Bot's been saying Jaguars for years now. And every time he says it, my ears kind of,
yep.
And thank you, my Money Mitch. Can you not say Jaguars?
Mitch, does it seem like I'm from the middle of downtown London to you? I'm not going to sit back here and pretend like I'm the guy who walks around and I see a car on the side of the road and I go to Carolina and I go, hey, look, that's a beautiful Jaguar. That's a Jaguar, okay? I'm from Rochester. Wire. It's Jaguar, Mitch.
Tell him.
Lock in. Wire. I can't even say, how do you say it? Jaguar?
Jaguar, man.
Jaguar? No.
G-U-A-R.
Jaguar, that requires effort, Rico. That requires me to think about saying the word. Jaguar rolls off the tongue.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Shout out to Rochester, man. The Rock. My man's representing big time. But I do like the move. I like what the Raiders have done. They've now made themselves at least competitive.
Yeah.
In that with get himself. And that's all it takes. Just be competitive. Right? It's not, don't bend over and just, you know what I mean? Just get it, you know what I mean? Ran through, you know what I mean? You have yourself a quarterback. Now you can kind of put your dukes up a little bit. And now let's roll. And
yeah,
the Raiders always play them tough. And let's go.
Are the Raiders a powerhouse? No, but have they taken necessary steps as of late to get exactly what you just said, more competitive? 100%. You can't fault the strategy that the Raiders have been, approaching this quote unquote rebuild ever since they've really moved to Vegas. They made the playoffs once and lost to Cincinnati since moving to Vegas. You can't fault the strategy here. Is Geno a long-term solution? Probably not, but it's far better than anything you had in the building currently. And I don't think you're going to get a quarterback in the draft this upcoming year that's going to be ready to start this upcoming season at the minimum. So I like what the Raiders are doing. And like you just mentioned, Rico, it's all about being competitive, because in this league, we see teams go from the bottom of the league to the top on a yearly basis. We see turnover. The Washington Commanders are the latest example of that. So not saying that they're going to be a world beater, but the Raiders, like you've been alluding to here in that division, they have been a somewhat pain in the Chiefs' side compared to how good they actually are. They're better now, for sure. And they will be more competitive this year with what they've been kind of putting together over there.
I kind of like what the Raiders are doing, man. Good for them. But let's stick to the Raiders / trade package and move over to DK.
Yes.
DK being available. Is it something that intrigues you? Let's really talk about this. Is it something that intrigues you to get DK over to Buffalo? Now, here's the deal. DK is what, 27? If I gotta look it up to see how old DK is, right? So 27, I'll say 27 for now until I can get his actual age.
He just turned 27 in December, Rico.
He just turned 27. Okay, there you go. So 27 years of age. He's a bona fide wide receiver, not a slot that you can put at wide receiver. No, he's a bona fide wide receiver. He's a bully. I've seen him bully linebackers. I've seen this brother bully DBs, safeties. It don't matter who. He's just bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else. And having him come to the Bills would be an absolute upgrade. But here's the pushback. Folks are saying, why go after DK Metcalf when we were the number one scoring offense in the league, including playoffs? And it's hard to fight against that because those are the facts. So why go and add an expensive piece? It just won't be a great piece. It'll also be an expensive piece to an already built offense that's built to score. When you have the best quarterback in the league, MVP says it, in Josh Allen. You got James Cook that came off a fantastic season with 16 touchdowns. You've got an up-and-coming slot receiver in Khalil Shakir. You've got a solid O-line. What do you need DK Metcalf for? So when someone pushes that to you and says, bro, why you want to go and pay DK? The defense is our problem. Leave DK alone and focus on the defense. The offense is fine. How do you push back against that?
I just had tacos delivered.
Oh,
that's not even Caroline. This is the DoorDash driver, by the way.
Listen,
Caroline just put in 3 12s in a row.
It's the best when your DoorDash driver is your wife and she fine and you say, yo, my fine DoorDash driver just came through and gave me some tacos. Can't get any better than that.
Can't beat that, right?
Yo.
Right?
What's up, Caroline? Caroline. What's happening, girl?
What
do you think? DK Metcalf to the Bills, you in or out?
I'm in all the way. Baby.
Hold on. Ask her to feed you the taco. At least a bite.
Yeah, why don't you show us what we got in there?
We have 3 boxes.
Oh, wow.
Feed your man that taco.
What do we got?
This is 3 chicken tacos.
Wow, take a peek at this. Take a peek at this. You ready for this?
$2 a pop.
Don't spill it. Don't spill it.
It's looking pretty good right there. I can't even lie. Wow, we got 3 boxes in here. Now the Bills equivalent to this would be look at that, some roasted chichicken.
There you go.
This would be like Brandon Bean showing up with a bag that included Myles Garrett.
But I'll take it. All right.
No, it's got some seasoning on it.
Does it? Okay. All right.
I'm a veteran with that. What do we got? Wow, and a quesadilla to go with it.
There you go.
Caroline, thanks so much, honey.
Hold on, she can't just walk away like that. She's got to feed you something. She's got to feed you something.
You got to feed me a little something, he said.
Okay.
You want to give me one of the tacos?
He immediately says, okay.
She said, your wish is my command. What do we got here?
Very cold. The cheese is very cold.
Wow. Is that cheese on the top? I thought that was a duck.
There it is. And that's love. Folks, if you don't have love like this, you're missing out.
If she's not feeding you tacos on a Friday night,
5 months,
you can do better.
Free agency football.
Yeah. Talking DK to the Bills while you're getting hand-fed tacos. Come on.
All right, I'm going to go take a shower.
You can take this downstairs, honey. This is going to need the microwave desperately. Desperately.
My man said, yo, I want that taco past that.
Laura wants a taco. Laura, Bar Taco. If there's a Bar Taco in your area, it's our favorite. Oh my God, I love it. All right. So is Bar Taco fast food? No. It's like this. It's a chain, but it's not like they're all over the country, but it's like it's not like a chain like a Chili's or an Applebee's would be. Yeah, it's like a local chain. I don't know. It's phenomenal. I love it. We love it. And the hack is there's like a kids menu that has the best tacos on it, but it doesn't have all the BS that you need. They're like $2 a piece.
You won.
I love it.
You won.
All right. So what were we talking about? Oh, DK. Okay. DK. Yeah. Awfully interesting here.
Oh, push back. We don't need DK. Why do we need to go get DK? Because not only will you have to give up some draft picks for DK, a draft pick for DK, then he's going to want money. He wants to get paid.
Yeah.
He's seeing Jamar Chase get paid. He's seeing all these receivers get paid. CeeDee Lamb, all these cats are getting paid. Devontae is going to get paid again. So he's like, yo, Buffalo, pay me. Why do it?
Well, it's awfully interesting, and I kind of fall on I'm sitting on the middle of the fence here on this one. To me, this is a move you make if you are unable to acquire a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett, right? If you can't get one of the top guys on the defensive side of the ball and you have to settle for lesser than there, then maybe you entertain this. To me, priority number one should be the defense, and if you're going to overspend anywhere, it should be that. Now, looking at DK's situation. Ever since we saw what we saw from the Bills last year and what they were able to do, like you mentioned, without a DK type guy, lead the league in scoring, despite not even playing in the Super Bowl, they still had more points than the Eagles. They finished the year, postseason, regular season combined, with the most points, averaging about 30 per game. They had that streak of 30 plus points, which was unprecedented there. It's almost, to me, if you already have a great car in the garage, you're satisfied with it. But if you can get another car in the garage, right? You can add another whip to the household. Why wouldn't you? If you're able to pull it off. The question is, are you going without something else in pursuit of it? And that's where I come down to on this DK situation. If you're going to be comparing it to the need of the defensive side of the ball and you favor this over the other, then I'm out. Right. But if it winds up getting to a situation where, say, the Bills end up going with a Joey Bosa because they couldn't pull off a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett move, maybe you entertain this situation here. The DK, the overall DK himself situation is interesting to me because I think that he could have a career resurgence in Buffalo because he was drastically underused, in my opinion, in Seattle, despite being wide receiver one. He only had 66 receptions, Rico, in back-to-back years here. And when you think about it, Khalil Shakir had more receptions this past year, a slot wide receiver that would not be a wide receiver one on plenty of teams in the NFL, at least top end offenses, right? I don't think Khalil Shakir would be wide receiver one on a vast majority of the league's current top offenses.
Correct.
He had more receptions than DK Metcalf. So you bring in DK, what does he do with Josh Allen? Because he's been underutilized, in my opinion, 66 catches in back-to-back years here. So if you bring him in, not only do I think he immediately gets better and gets more productive, but then I think guys like Khalil Shakir, maybe his catch count goes down, but his impact could rise because I think there's less focus on a guy like Khalil Shakir. I think Keon Coleman's stock goes up. I think the tight end stock goes up. So I don't know. It's awfully interesting to me. What do you got on there?
My man Mark Cardinal says I'm still down with MPP, and I have to.
Wow, what are the odds?
MPP shirt. There you go, boy. I digest. I digress. Keep going, brother.
So you're looking at the idea of it's not necessarily not wanting DK. Is the juice worth the squeeze financially? I guess
this is why Silas is saying big Bills fans want every big name player. DK's a 60% catch guy. He's not worth the asking price. And this is where Silas might have a point here.
But my question would be, what would be the asking price? Because if he's asking for that 30 million realm at the top of the market's
so what is he asking for? I have not seen what he's asking for. I don't know if anybody's seen what DK or what rumors are saying he's asking for, because a lot of rumors are just making stuff up. But if he's asking for an astronomical number, your play doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't dictate you getting that number. But you're playing with the likes of Geno Smith, So when you play with someone like Josh Allen, maybe things change. So
What's the most you'd spend yearly average on DK Metcalf that would make you feel comfortable with a move?
I mean, he's got to be in between 20 and 24.
He's already at 24, so you're not going to get him for I would imagine $1 less than that.
Is he at 24 right now?
Yeah, 24 a year.
Oh shoot. Okay. Damn. I didn't think he was at 24 already. So I mean, if he's at 24 right now, and he's looking for an increase, I can't give him 30. I just cannot.
Oh hell no! No, there's no way you could do it.
There's no way. So I'm sitting here. Maybe I'll get you 25, 26.
He's currently 26. The 13th highest paid receiver. I would imagine he's looking to at least be in the top 10. And in order to get to the top 10, he would have to make about 26 to 27 million annually.
I mean, chat, you in the chat, you tell me if DK is getting paid 24 mil now, and when you trade for a player, typically they want an increase. They want a reshuffling of their contract. I know Brandon Beane does what he does, but what's an appropriate number if DK is the guy? Some folks are not in on DK, but let's just say the Bills are in on DK. They feel like he's the offensive piece that just takes them right over the edge. What's the appropriate number? He's already at 24. What will you not exceed? And where do you top out on a per year basis? Y'all let me know in the chat. Let us know in the chat, and we can kind of have this conversation. But I've thought about it, to be honest with you, with DK.
By the way, you also have to keep in mind you do have to give up assets to get him too, in addition to paying that money as well. It's not like he's a free agent. You got to trade for him.
See, and here's the biggest thing: just because he's available doesn't mean that he's the guy that we need on the squad. And right now the numbers are coming in right now. So my man said, 22. So you want him to take a pay cut. He ain't gonna take a pay cut. He's trying to get paid 26 mil. I mean, I think that's where you top out at 26, right? But he wants 30. Shoot for the stars, bro.
No, if 30's even on the table, then I'm immediately I'm heading to the end. You can't get close to that. You'd have to
25, $1 million increase. So I mean, it's all where you think he's gonna be. Artemio comes in and says, Rico, we are watching and learning from you regarding valuable updates about our team, Buffalo Bills. Cheers from the Philippines. Bills Mafia, man. It's 11 a.m. on Saturday. Here we go. God bless. God bless you too, brother. God bless you too. Appreciate my Filipinos. My Filipinos are the I've said this many times. My Filipino people love them. Love them. But anyway, what's Richie saying? Richie had a comment he made. Richie Fresh says 26 would be a steal because of who's throwing him the football. Ooh, how do you feel about that? Richie says 26 is a steal to get DK.
26 is where I would top off at. Like, that's where I would be absolute maxed out. It would be 26. That would put him right around the top 10 highest paid. T. Higgins just got 26 on the franchise, right? I know it's not a new deal, but it's 26 on the franchise. The question is, for what the Bills are looking to do currently, it feels like the top of their wide receiver allotment financially. Doesn't it feel like the top of that is like 20 max? Doesn't that feel like that to you?
It does. It does. And look at what Silas said. They're asking for a first-round draft pick.
Well, they're not going to get a first round. I mean, they're out of their
mind.
Are
you insane?
They're lucky to even get a second, I would imagine.
In this economy, you want to get a first-round draft pick? Boy, you tripping, bro. Yeah, I might slap a tariff on that thing. I don't play that game. Don't play with me. Slap a tariff on that beat and call it a day. But I like DK, and I love the thought of DK, but I just don't think that we need DK. And you said a valuable point. You got to give up assets to get him. You got to give up assets. And is it worth enough to get the assets? If we were the Raiders, yeah, it makes complete sense. I'll pay you. I got the money. Let's do it. But we're not. We're the Bills. We're not paying you 26. Can you see the Kansas City Chiefs paying DK Metcalf 26 mil?
No.
Neither can I. Neither can I. I just can't see it. So if Chiefs,
I really can't see the Bills doing it either, to be honest.
Neither can I. No. So I listen. I'm out on DK. I like DK. DK's got inconsistent hands, mind you. I gotta put that out there. He's got inconsistent hands. So I'm out on DK. Love DK, but I'll see him play elsewhere. It ain't gonna be for the Bills. The Bills can do better. There are some guys that are out there that can really do wonders for this team. but we do need a field stretcher. So that is where we still have to search and find what takes place. What's Scott Van Loo saying to us?
Scotty's saying, Rico and Bot, I need your honest opinion. If we want one of these top-tier defensive tackles or edge rushers, or even a corner, would you trade up in the top 20 or top 15 to get one? Well, that's a whole other conversation. But it brings me back to the overall point here with DK. What we're sort of dancing around here is the idea of bringing in a guy that's supposed to transcend the unit for a dollar amount that's probably more than you can currently chew. When I think about the Bills doing a move like that, it is wholeheartedly on the defensive side of the ball. The Bills are not in a position right now financially to go out and get a guy like DK, in my opinion, to get a guy like DK for a dollar amount that seems like he would probably be asking for. And the offense has proven to you that it's not necessarily a need in order for these Bills to get to the next step. How many more points can you average than 30 per game? Are the Bills going to be the team scoring 40 per game, and that's how they win? They're just going to win games 45-40. That's how they'll beat the Chiefs in the playoffs eventually. Right now, the Bills are certainly in a position to add at the wide receiver spot. But are they going to be in position to add a guy like DK for the money that he commands, likely, while also being able to add to the defensive side of things? This is where I come down to this. This is where I come down to, my final answer on DK with this whole idea of him being linked to the Bills. If it comes down to being able to make one big move, it has to be prioritized on the defensive side of the ball. And so for those reasons, this is why I just feel like it seems more like a pipe dream to get DK than not. Would I love to have him? Yes, but.
And finish the sentence. And for those reasons,
For that specific reason, I'm out. But
it is.
I'm not out on him himself. I love DK. He's one of my favorite non-Bill players in the league. I mean, I think he is the Myles Garrett equivalent of the wide receiver position, just based on the physicality, based on the size. I love him. And I think he's exactly what the Bills offense has been missing. I think that's what the Bills drafted Keon Coleman to be. That field stretcher, that go up and get it guy, out muscles you, out jumps you, brings the ball down. The Bills, would they benefit, of course, from having a guy like him? It goes without saying. But there's a reason why the Bills moved off of Stephon Diggs when they did, beyond the reason, within the locker room, beyond the idea of getting rid of him because there was mutual resentment. I don't know what the right word would be in that situation. But the money, it just didn't seem like the Bills were going to be able to justify it. And as it stands right now, based on what we saw this past season offensively, I don't know where Brandon Beane's sitting there thinking we have to really put our financial cards on the table here in order to get a guy like DK. When they, when you see the current wide receivers that are out there, they might not be as good as DK, but they're going to cost probably $10 million a year less. And I feel like that's the avenue that Brandon Beane's going to go here this offseason.
Listen, man, there's the Brandon Beane's has his hands full. And all eyes are on Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane needs to hit. And right now, most fans are looking at, if Brandon Beane's going to hit, offense is not where we need you to hit, my man. Offense is absolutely just fine. Offense did not lose a whole lot. Think about it. O-line is still intact. The receiver room is still intact. I mean, whether you want to call Amari Cooper a loss or not, was he effective? Did he do anything for us that was memorable down the stretch? Absolutely not. So you're looking at the same freaking offense, to be honest with you. So like, what's changed? Nothing. Nothing's changed. So if you're going to make moves, and if eyes are going to be on you, defense is where you want to be. And speaking of defense, are we ready to transition?
Yeah. Before we do, I just want to say that doesn't it feel like the wide receiver position currently, when you go and look at the free agents available, doesn't it just seem more likely that the Bills target a guy that was in that same exact realm as Amari Cooper was, that $12 to $16 million realm, whether it be Amari Cooper coming back and returning to Buffalo, or you look at a guy like Hollywood Brown that would cost even less than that. Keenan Allen, I know he's up there. I think it's his 13th year this upcoming year. It just feels more like that's the road we go down offensively because of the financials. Then it feels like, the Bills are going to take a massive home run blockbuster swing at a guy like DK. Would I love it? I mean, hell yeah. How could you not? But I can't personally see it.
And neither can I. I think we're gonna look to. It's tough because like we just got a rookie receiver in Keon Coleman. We have some veteran guys in the room. Does he go back to the well and get another rookie receiver? Does he feel comfortable getting a rookie receiver? Does he need Josh to build that chemistry over again? You need one more. You need one more. And Channing Hill is saying Josh Palmer. I think Josh Palmer would be an underrated pickup. I think he's got the size. I think he's got the speed, and he's got the hands. But big time receiver, I just don't think we're in the market for that. I think we're fine. We just drafted Keon. He's going to develop. They're looking for more from him this season. Dalton Kincaid has to show up. Must. It's a must. Khalil Shakir just got paid, so you know he's about to step his game up. And James Cook is going to be looking to have a massive year. So there's a lot of guys that have things they're working towards to gain that paycheck. One's already got it in Khalil Shakir. Dalton's got to work on his. I don't see the need, the necessity to go out and get a big time receiver like DK, but I think we will get one. It's just a matter of where. But I like what you said. In that 12 to 14, 15 mil is probably where the Bills might look to. I just don't want them to bring some older cat. So I need someone that's on the rise, but under the radar, right? And I think everybody's looking for something like that. So we'll see where that all shakes out. But
the Bills are 100% in the wide receiver market. I just don't think they're in the top 10 financially. Or they're not in the top 10 highest paid wide receiver market, I guess is how I see it.
Yeah, we're out on that market. Now, if we're going to be paying someone, it's definitely going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And
it should be.
And there are plenty of options to go with that. But yeah, that's the way I look at it. That we're going to revisit. I want to revisit the offensive side of the ball because we do have some conversation to have. But there was some news today. Did you hear news today?
I did.
What did you hear?
Brandon Beane reworking yet another deal, and it is on the defensive side of the ball. We had an offensive deal. Yeah, we had an offensive deal made last week. Khalil Shakir extended. This time around, it is at the linebacker position. Terrel Bernard extended by Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills this afternoon as we transition to talking about the defense that needs to add. They didn't add today, but they retained. They are going to have Terrel Bernard manning the middle of the field for the considerable future here. 4-year, $50 million extension for Terrel Bernard, inked by Brandon Beane this afternoon. Rico, you and I are big Terrel Bernard fans. It felt good to get this deal done, especially after seeing Zach Bond, who's probably the best linebacker in the league last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. He got $17 million just 2 days ago. Terrel Bernard signs for or $17 million a year, I should say, for Zach Bond. We see Terrel Bernard sign his extension with the Buffalo Bills this afternoon, and it winds up coming in at around $12.5 million. So I think it's right at the sweet spot, as I felt Khalil Shakir was too, where I think you're getting a real solid player remaining on your roster that isn't necessarily taking top of the market money. I think it was a real positive move for the Buffalo Bills this afternoon. How did you weigh the extension of Terrel Bernard when you initially heard it?
Listen, that Terrel Bernard signing was absolutely fantastic. I don't care. I don't know if people were if they felt, oh my God, we overpaid. We paid that brother $25.2 million. Let's not look at these signings as $50 million. Are you kidding me? 84. Don't look at that. Look at the guaranteed. That's what you got to pay attention to. And when you look at the guaranteed, $25 million? Are you kidding me? So what you're telling me is I got you for another 2 years until I can really, really take a look and see if you're the guy or not. So we signed him for maybe 2, maybe 3 years. You know what I mean? Until we can go back to the numbers and say, can we get rid of him? Or is he doing enough for us? So although this is a great deal for him, because I think he's going to be successful and he probably will earn his $50 million. But if it for some reason doesn't work out, bro, that's not a bad deal. 12.5. And
it makes him the 19th highest paid linebacker in the league, Rico, with a new deal.
19th highest paid, and I think it makes him the 5th highest paid inside linebacker. So listen, $12.5 million. That's apropos. And he's earned it. Like, talk about, last year in 2023, he had 140 43 tackles. He had 6 turnovers. Bro, he earned that money. This year, he made impactful plays. Think about it, right? This year, the punch out, boom, recovery against the Baltimore Ravens when we absolutely needed a play. Who makes a play? Terrel Bernard. He came in as an undersized, underweight middle linebacker. You're like, what's this guy going to do? Like, what is Brandon Beane thinking? Like, who the hell? Because that's how I was. Who in the heck is Terrel Bernard? Out of Baylor? All right, 3rd round. I mean, if you tuck him in the 3rd round, I guess he must be decent. Well, he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. And Terrel Bernard earning this contract is absolutely fantastic for him. But here's the thing, though. What people need to understand is, numbers aside, what do you gain in having a guy like Terrel Bernard? That's what you've got to look at. So first things first, you gain respect. You gain maturity. You gain experience. You gain a guy that is mature. You don't get the captain of the team if you're not, and you don't check off every single one of those boxes. So that's number one. He's well respected in the locker room, well respected by his peers and his coaches. So yes, it's a no-brainer to bring him on the squad, but it's not even that. Impactful player. He brings you youth, right? You got a 25-year-old linebacker that's going into his prime. He's only going to get better, and he's already got that C on his chest. How can anybody sit here and go, it's all right? No, that's a great freaking signing, and the money is fantastic. So I'm 1,000% with Brandon Beane. That was a right move. Out of the 5 young players that needed to be re-signed with an extension, we got 2 down and just a few more to go, or maybe 1 more to go, or 2. So Khalil Shakir, check. Terrel Bernard, check. So now you got Greg Rousseau, James Cook, Christian Benford. At least 1 more is going to get a contract extension, at least. Or maybe not. Maybe he let them all play it out, and we'll go from there. But at least one of these guys are going to get it. So this was a fantastic decision by Brandon Beane, an even better contract, and it works for Buffalo. Buffalo now has a little bit more wiggle room to go and bring in the next core player. Take your pick, and we'll go from there. So I'm all in on this move. I like it. I've grown to like Terrel Bernard, the Nard dog. How could you not? So sign me up, man. I'm big on it. Now, I'm going to ask you the same, but I'm going to kind of put a little spice on that. Do you like the pairing of Terrel Bernard, him getting the extension? Excuse me, let me rephrase that. Do you like Terrel Bernard getting the extension over or before James Cook, Christian Benford, Greg Rousseau? How do you feel about him getting his extension before those 3 guys?
Well, for starters, I think that it's in terms of the financials, getting him done prior. So maybe that has something to do with it. You know, Zach Bond gets his contract the other day, and I think that taking care of Bernard as soon as you possibly could made sense in the time, because I think that the number that they wind up getting him locked underneath is, once again, one that's going to put him at the 19th highest paid at the position. And if you're talking about Rousseau, Cook, and Benford, I would imagine that money dedicated to those 3 going to be higher than what Bernard just got, right? James Cook, there's no incentive for me to make that deal this year. I mean, I can't get my mind to think any different. I just don't see how, with the list of needs that it feels like the Bills have to check off their list, or Brandon Beane has to check off their list, specifically on the defensive side of things, getting James Cook under a new contract this offseason just does not seem to be priority number 1 to me. So yeah, getting Bernard done over him in this particular situation, yes, I'm in on. Cool. The Rousseau situation, it's interesting. And the Benford situation, also interesting. Benford, to me, seems like a foregone conclusion just because of the lack of what I think you currently have in the secondary, right? And I think that at some point is going to be a done deal. I would imagine Greg Rousseau is going to be done as well. But what's that going to look like? The Bernard situation, to me, it seemed like one of those moves, like with Shakir, where the financials made sense. I think the Bills got out ahead in this particular situation, much like I thought they did with the Shakir situation. And because of that, I think it makes sense. The idea of retaining Terrel Bernard, though, it's all going to be contingent on the health when he's healthy, he can be as good as anybody at the spot, in my opinion. So if he's able to stay healthy, I think that this current contract that Bernard just got is going to look very kind on what the Bills get in return based on what they're spending. But in terms of what you had just asked, like based on those other guys, it does make sense to me getting this one done ahead for sure. How about you?
You like it? It's an extra question. Who's next?
I don't know. Am I nuts? Am I nuts in wanting
Russo, Cook?
Benford?
Without a doubt.
I mean, Cook's at the bottom of the list to me. I just don't see why it needs to be done this offseason. Do I want it to get done? Yeah. Do I want to retain James Cook? Yes. This offseason, I just don't think put yourself in the shoes of Brandon Beane for a second. Is that at the top of your priority list right now?
Cook?
A James Cook extension this offseason?
Listen, if I have to make an extent, if I have to, out of those three guys, if I'm going to sign one long term, I'm signing Benford over Cook and Rousseau. So Cook right now is at the bottom. Why? I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I think we spent a lot of time on Cook, and I think a lot of people realize how we feel about it. But if somebody is going to have to play it out and show me, that's Cook. You want that money? Show me that you can do it again. It's really simple.
Oh, so you're thinking about proving it with Cook.
No. And this is what it comes down to. Every one of these guys are in a position of, so Bernard has proved it, in my opinion. And it's clear because he's got an extension, right? Khalil Shakir has proved it. He got an extension. Benford, some folks are like, I need to see more. You might see Benford play another year and see how he does. I think I've seen enough that I trust what I see in Benford. I would sign him up and lock him up right now. Paying Cook would be irresponsible. I've thought about this. I've gone back and forth. I'm like, I'm not paying him. You know what? You should pay him. I'm not paying him. He's a tricky one. But if you look at it from just a businessman, you drafted Ray Davis. He's asking for a contract now. You still got time on your contract. Bro, you scored 16 touchdowns for the first time in your career. You weren't even near that. You weren't even sniffing that. Show me again. If you that guy, show me again. Oh, by the way, we're going to increase your play. And if we with the increase, and I'm talking about in terms of how many more touches and how often he's on the field, with the increase, I will have no problems paying you your 15. Right now, I don't see you as a $15 million guy. But if you show me that you can be a third down back, that you're on the field in your pass protection, you're pass protecting, and you're on the field like the Josh Jacobs of the world, the Saquon Barkley of the world, bro, I will give you your 15 and we ain't going to talk about nothing else. But you got to show it to me again. Deal? Deal. No, it's not a deal. Well, hey, you don't have the leverage. I got me a backup running back. So keep, I was about to cuss. Keep messing with me. Keep eyeballing me. Eyeball emojiing me. You can eyeball yourself somewhere else. Here, real talk. So your ass needs to prove it to me. So if I'm going to pay someone, I'm paying my man's Benford. So you can eyeball me all you want. He's getting the money first before you do. That's just the way I see it in this regards. My man Walter comes in and says, let's not be revisionist, Rico. Cook was averaging 5.7. I don't give a F about him averaging 5.7 yards a pop. Honestly, let's keep it a buck here, okay? I don't care. Averaging 5.7 yards. I'm supposed to be moved by that? 5.7 yards a pop. A, we had a great O-line. B, we can get really good running back play out of Davis. I'm not going to revisit this all day with you guys because we've talked about this at length. Play it out. Play it out. Trust me, I've gone back and forth. I was like, we should pay him. Maybe not. I'm back and forth. I'm truthfully back and forth. And if I'm so back and forth on it, I'm more out than in on paying him. So, no.
So wait, hold on.
No, don't hold on nothing.
No, yeah, hold on. Hold on. I
don't want to spend all night talking about Cook.
No,
either.
We're not going to spend all night on it. But, we have to talk about what you had just said. You're like, prove it to me. We got back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for James Cook. He's been the best running back they've had since LaShawn McCoy.
Pause that for a second real quick. 5.7 yards a pop. Let's be real with you, Terrel. If 5.7 yards a pop looks really good on a minimal amount of carries, don't play with me.
I don't care about the 5.7 yards.
No, I'm getting at my man Walter. Minimal amount of carries, of course, the yardage looks good. Get up to 300 carries. Talk to me about 5.7
but
yards.
It is completely unnecessary.
Carries? Talk to me about it. Don't give me that 5.7. I'm not buying that. Go ahead, sir.
It's completely unnecessary for James Cook to carry it 300 times. Completely unnecessary.
The big boys are doing it. That's the point.
But those are teams that are they are more predicated on like the Eagles, for example.
Talk to me.
Saquon Barkley, there's a reason why he just became the first $20 million a year running back of all in the history of the game. It's because he is the best in the league. And last year they do not make the Super Bowl if they do not have him. Right. So I'm looking at James Cook's situation, and you just kind of said that he's got to prove it. I think he's proven he's one of the better backs in the league. I think this is irrelevant when it comes to paying him or not. Currently, to me, as we sit now, the James Cook situation is one that I feel like needs to be dealt with this time next year. I don't see how right now getting him under contract going into 2025 is at the top of the list when it isn't a priority based on his current rookie deal. He's under contract this upcoming season, and there's no leverage that he currently has. And when you're looking at what Saquon Barkley just got paid, there's no way that there's anybody on the planet that considers James Cook to be a $20 million or so running back like Saquon Barkley is, because nobody else is Saquon Barkley. He's the best in the league. But it's not a matter of him proving it or not. Would I love to see another year of the touchdown production like we saw this past year, because he had 16 this past year and he had 2 the year prior? Yeah, I would. But to me, the whole prove it, not prove it thing, I think it's irrelevant at this current point, because to me, what it all comes down to is the idea that I don't think there's any urgency to do it right now when you have other things that are more pressing for this current season. The James Cook situation financially isn't a pressing need this season. Next year, after getting another year, like you mentioned, Rico, whether he proves it or not, to me, this is a problem for next year. I just don't see.
You're right. You're right. I'm with you.
That's how I see it.
I'm with you.
Right?
I'm with you. He has to prove it next year. This means this year you're not getting paid. Show me that you can do this again. It's like, okay, my kids, Dad, can I get, I don't know, I want to be able to, get tickets to go see a concert. Okay. I said, sure. I want to see you clean this house. I want to see you do the dishes. I want to see you X, Y, Z. Show me that I can trust you, that you can do these things, and maybe we talk about it. You got it, Dad. Clean up and do all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that was fantastic. Show it to me again. Let me see a habit of this. So you can't give me 1 year of this phenomenal play of 16 touchdowns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm sitting here ready to just pay you for that one time. No. I want to see consistency. Most folks will say, but Rico, this is going to be, he's got 2 years of 1,000 yards rushing this year. Isn't that consistent enough? No, 3 times, right? You don't do something twice and say, it's good enough for me. No. Give me three years of consistent play, and then we can talk. And that's it. There's no and, ifs, buts about it. Speaking of that, touches. Saquon Barkley in 2024, 378. He got 20 mil. We all know why.
So this is something that needs to be. The Saquon Barkley contract should impact the James Cook situation zero. To me, it means nothing.
If he wants that type of money, he's got to give you that type of.
Who's giving him that type of money? Hold
on a second here. It's not just the production. It's just the amount that he's on the field and the amount that I can trust you to be on the field. That's what it comes down to. Barkley, 378. Brian Robinson had 360, right? Kyrie Williams, the little tiny back, 350, 344, 337. Jay Taylor, 321. Aaron Jones, 306. Jameer Gibbs, 302. Tony Pollard, 301. Right? Let's go down to James Cook, 239. Get the heck out of here, bro.
Well, I'm in agreement with you on that. I've made that point myself.
It's not you. It's for those that want to pay his ass so badly. Chill out. Let me see him do it again.
But hold on. There's a difference. There's a difference between wanting to pay him. This is what I think needs to be clarified. There's a difference between wanting to pay him and then wanting to pay him top of the market money. When people saw Saquon sign $20 million, they immediately think, oh, that's not good for James Cook. I saw that and I thought it's irrelevant to James Cook's situation. James Cook isn't getting $20 million. No other running back is getting $20 million. Saquon Barkley is in a tier of his own. He almost broke the single season rushing record last year. He was the MVP on the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles. He was the best player on that team. He was the best running back in the league. And right now, I think he has separated himself, he and Derrick Henry, from the rest of the league. And then when you factor in the amount of touches as well, it's just, if James Cook's going to get that type of money, it's going to be on a team that is going to give him those amount of touches because they do not have an offense currently set up to where the quarterback is good enough to go through him. That's why I bring up Jonathan Taylor all the time. Jonathan Taylor gets the amount of touches that he does and gets rewarded financially the way that he does because the Colts do not have a adequate quarterback at the current moment. That's why the offense goes through Jonathan Taylor. That's why his numbers are what they are. That's why he gets paid the way that he does. So this idea that $20 million goes to Saquon Barkley and all of a sudden we have to consider that for James Cook. One, it's not a priority this offseason. If we want to pay him, next year's the time to do it, in my opinion. And two, this idea that it's going to be anything around that, if that's what he is steadfast on, if he is locked in on that, then it's just not going to happen. Whether you want to keep Cook around or not, that amount of money is never going to be delegated to James Cook by the Buffalo Bills. I just can't see it. There's no way.
15 mil is what he's asking for. 15 mil is what he will get if he gives us the production that we need from him. You can't be, and that means we're going to give you more opportunity. And when we give you more opportunity, you better cash in on more opportunity. And if you're the same back that we had when we gave you 239 and it's no different, then you've lost leverage. Now, my man, Slick Crook was like, watch Cook run for 1,800 yards and he's going to demand 25 mil. And guess what? He ain't getting 25 mil for the Bills. You can go elsewhere and get that 25 mil and ain't nobody paying you 25 mil. I know he's exaggerating here, so I totally get it, but it's just not it. I'm done with James Cook. You ain't getting paid this year, bro. And if they do, so be it. That's on Brandon. Brandon's gonna have to eat that. And there should be some stipulations. And I better see an uptick of touches on the field. Jahmyr Gibbs is about the same size-wise and the same type of back. And he had 300 touches. My man had 60 less touches. And I need my guy on the field in crucial moments. Where was your ass when we were on the last drive and I had Ty Johnson in? And why not James Cook? I don't want to hear diddly squat from none of y'all. Rico, you're a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm a truth teller. Don't play with me.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like you're immediately considered a hater if you don't want to pay him top of the market money.
Yeah,
The Bills offense isn't run in a way that justifies paying a running back top of the market money, no matter how good the guy is. No one's questioning how good James Cook is. No one's questioning how big of a piece he was for the Bills these last 2 years. The problem is that when the Bills offense goes through one of the best quarterbacks in the league, therefore taking away touches from a guy like James Cook, it's hard to justify paying the amount of money that guys who do get those touches make. And that's what it all comes down to me, I guess. And not for in the overall main point here to me is that we continuously keep talking about this money going to James Cook. This year, I just think it's irrelevant all the way until this time next year. That's how I see it.
It's all good. James Cook, you're just going to have to wait it out, kid. You're going to have to wait it out like everybody. By the way, Alton Venezuela, my guy. Rico, you'd pay Davis 15 mil. Shoot. If he gets 300 touches and gives me 1,000 yards.
But if he gets 300 touches, then what is that? Then that probably means that Josh Allen's on the bench because he got hurt. There's no way that any running back is getting 300 touches with Josh Allen at quarterback.
300 touches. That's
300 carries.
300 touches.
That would be 100 additional carries. That would be 100 additional carries from this past season.
Catches and carries. That's all. Catches and carries. That's all I'm talking about. Walter comes in and says, "Yo, I'm so confused. We want 300 carries with Josh Allen at QB. You're talking ridiculous, Rico. No, the F I'm not. The Eagles have more rushing attempts than passing. I don't care. Well, what you talking about?"
No, what he's saying is what he's trying to say is that it's just there's no way to get to 300 touches when you have Josh Allen at quarterback because that's going to take away from Josh Allen's touches. the MVP of the league.
Saquon Barkley, 300 touches, had Jalen Hurts as his quarterback. Brian Robinson, Redskins. Oh, is that Bijan? Sorry, that's Bijan. Bijan Robinson had Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. Kyron Williams had Matthew Stafford. Good quarter. Matthew Stafford was his scrub. Get out of here with that. And he had 2 big-time receivers on the squad. Don't play with me. You had Lamar Jackson that had big-time numbers this year. Stop. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Stop trying to use that as a effing excuse. Enough of that, man. Sometimes backs are valuable enough that you can give them 300 touches because you trust them enough with the ball. I'm not saying they don't trust him with the ball, but he's not on the field at the crucial times when we need him. If he's on the ball, if he's a 3-down back, most likely getting the 300 touches. I'm not asking for 300 touches. He just has to get more than 230. That's what I'm saying. He's got to be amongst if he's supposed to give the production that we want, up to 250, 280. He doesn't need 300, but 230? Nah, you need more than that. You need more than that. Anyway, I'm off on James Cook. Are you still on James Cook? Because I'm off on that. I feel like we've been talking about this brother for weeks now.
I think we're just talking about it because he continuously keeps hinting at wanting to get paid this year. And I just think that while I would love to pay James Cook and keep him around, I don't want to pay him top of the market money. I don't want to pay any running back top of the market money unless you are waltzing to Canton like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are. And also, it just doesn't need to be done this year. Plain and simple.
My man Walter says, "Yo, Rico, we passed more than Allen. We passed more than Allen. Those teams you just named. I'd have to see the stats. We'll see, because we were pretty 50-50 down the mark, by the way, just so you know. We were very balanced this year, a very balanced team. So you can't say that we passed more, et cetera, et cetera. We were freaking balanced. But anyway, neither here nor there. Signified Nose comes in. Yo, who? Everybody wants to smoke with me today? Let's go. I got smoke for everybody today, man. Rico, what do you want? I want some. Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts aren't in the same stratosphere as Josh Allen. Was I comparing the two? I'm not comparing the two. What I'm saying is they had running backs that had the high touch volume, and their quarterbacks weren't scrubs, meaning they're giving it up. They're passing the ball just as much too. Comprehension, folks. Comprehension. Don't come for me if you're not ready. Come on now. Anyway, I have a question for you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide to the defensive side of the ball, because offense, that's not the issue here. It's defense. And there's 2 defensive ends right now currently available. One is blatantly available. One is battling with his franchise, which is very bizarre to me. So I'll start with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett wants to sit down with his owner. His owner declined the sit down. He wants nothing to do with playing for Cleveland. Apparently, owner's like, you playing here, and that's it. Where do you see this thing going, bro? Where is this? Is this going to be nasty? Because now Garrett is saying, oh, you don't want to move me? Then I am playing. I'm not putting on that jersey. Does this hurt? Does this hurt Garrett and his leverage? Is it on his side saying I'm not playing? Or does this make the owner just dig in and say, well, you don't play for me, you play for no one? This is not good. This is not good. So, and I bring this up because now you've got teams that are like, yo, are you available or are you not? Do we wait or do we go elsewhere? And that's exactly what's going to take place. So what does Buffalo do in this case? Do we play the patient game? Or it's like, I don't think anything's going to happen with that situation. Let's move on elsewhere. So let's stay on Garrett for now. Your thoughts on Garrett? Do you think it's going to work out where we'll be able to get him, or it's just a nasty situation where nothing's going to happen over there?
It seems like a nasty situation. I'd be stunned if he doesn't get moved. It sounds like he's going to be willing to sit out. That's how much he wants out. Now, with the ownership situation, there was what you had mentioned there, a report about them wanting to get together, and it was shut down. I don't understand why the ownership would shut it down. Wouldn't you want to get in the room with him and at least see where he's at and try to work something out? The idea of ownership shutting down a conversation, to me, is only going to make Myles Garrett more disgruntled. I don't understand how you're going to come to any sort of common ground. He already seems like he doesn't want to get to a common ground as it is. How are you even going to attempt to reach a common ground if you're not willing to sit and hear him out at the very minimum. So it seems awfully ugly. It's just the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Browns are the Browns. I mean, just the way it always has been. And this is another example of that. That's what it seems like to me. I don't see him budging on this. It doesn't seem like he really cares about getting an all-time bag from Cleveland. He wants out of the Browns. He doesn't really care about the amount of money that's going to be paid to him by Cleveland. He doesn't want to be in Cleveland despite the amount of money they might be willing to throw his way. So I think it's going to get awfully ugly. And you asked, are you going to be willing to wait it out? No, the Bills, and nobody for that matter, I don't think can just sit around with a need at the position like they currently have and wait for him to potentially get something done with Cleveland, especially if ownership is dug in the way that they seem to be. And that's where the Trey Hendrickson situation to me gets awfully interesting when discussing the idea of Brandon Beane making an offseason move at the edge position. Would we love to get Myles Garrett? Oh, hell yeah. Who the hell wouldn't? But I don't know if it's going to happen sooner than later here. And it does seem like it might be tougher to get done than it's felt like as of late. Trey Hendrickson is a certainty. They're allowing him to seek a trade. I don't know how long it's going to be before the Cleveland Browns finally throw their hands up in the air and say, you know what, fine, we'll make something happen. And will it be before the draft, too? That's the other thing, because I would imagine that in order to get one of these guys, the Bills will want to use capital from this year. They have multiple picks in multiple rounds. I would imagine in order to get a deal like this done, it would require the Bills to move this year's draft capital. Are the Browns going to be looking to make a deal within the next month or so? I would think that if they're going to, they would have to. It's an awfully interesting situation. I think he does get moved. The question is when. That's the whole thing.
There's a few things that are standing out to me. And here's the thing: if this Garrett situation doesn't get any better, if I'm Brandon Beane, I'm not waiting around. I don't have time to wait around. I simply cannot. Like, it's either he's available and I can start making my plans, and if I do get him, that means I got to start allocating funds to him, and I got to reshuffle some things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you guys are playing this cat mouse thing and who's going to budge and who's not going to budge. I got no time. I'm out. So it's really hurting Garrett. The Cleveland Browns know they ain't going to be competitive at all. You're going up against the Ravens, Steelers, and the Bengals. You're not going to be competitive yet again this season. So to the owners, they're like, we're going to suck this year anyway. So you might as well just sit and not play. If that's the thing. So it's a nasty situation out there. I can't see it going any better. So if I'm the Bills, I'm moving on. Now, what's intriguing to me, and you said it, and that is Bengals. They've given Trey Hendrickson the ability to go and seek his trade. And they're looking for a late second-round pick, early third-round pick. Are you kidding me? We're sitting here with two second-round picks. We have 2 fourth-round picks right now. I'm sure there's something that could be had for Trey Hendrickson. So then we were in the chat earlier, and we started really, really discussing this Trey Hendrickson and if we should move over to Trey Hendrickson. And I'll tell you, the last 3 years, and this goes for the chat, in the chat, we know that Myles Garrett is a dog. We know that. But is he that much better than Trey Hendrickson? And that's the question. How do y'all feel about that? Are you guys thinking, yeah, it's not even close? Myles Garrett, easy. Well, look at this for a quick second, folks. The last 3 years, right, from 2021 to 2024, Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson, look at this. 65 games each. Well, 65 to 66 is a game apart. Myles Garrett having more. Look at this. What's important to me, 57 sacks, 60 sacks for Myles Garrett. All right. Not only that, Trey Hendrickson is tops in the game. I got to play this out for you. I'm going to read this out for you guys so you understand where we're coming from here. Trey Hendrickson, according to Louis Riddick. You guys all know Louis Riddick. Trey Hendrickson in 2023, he was number 7 in the league in pressure percentage, He was tied for number 2 in sacks and number 1 in the NFL in sack percentage. Oh, by the way, he was also 11th in pass rush win rate. That was 2023. He had over 17 sacks that year. Let's push it to 2024. Trey Hendrickson, 3rd in pressure percentage, number 1 in sacks and sack percentage. He led the league in sacks and sack percentage. And he was number 3 in pass rush win rate. Bro, and he's 30. Myles Garrett is 29. They're a year apart. Is there that much difference between the two? No. So in all this hoopla for Myles Garrett, bro, you have an available defensive lineman that is consistent. Pull the trigger on Trey Hendrickson. You bring that guy, he not only does he get the sacks, but his pressure win rate is insane. So put him on the field next to Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau. Shoot, we got it. We got something cooking here. Myles Garrett might not be available. So why are we sitting here wasting time thinking that we could get him when you have some guy that's consistent and able to do it? And that Bengals defense was poo-poo. It was doo-doo, man. And this guy was still able to put 17 sacks last year. Another what? I think he had 16 and a half sacks the year before that. Bro, I am going after Trey Hendrickson and giving up. Now, this is where it gets tough. What do you give up? What do you give up for Trey Hendrickson? Now, here's where I said something to you earlier, and I want your thoughts on this. Are you ready to put your GM hat on?
Yeah.
The GM Simulator Rico Bot edition starts now. Z-Bot, I am the Cincinnati Bengals. I know you need a pass rusher. I know that's the piece you need. Trey Hendrickson wants to get paid. The biggest issue here with Trey Hendrickson is he's available. He can be had, but he wants to be paid. It's the number that throws me off here. He wants to be paid $30 million a year. Pass rusher. He is one of the best, if not the best pass rusher in the game. I'd say top 5. Just to kind of just put it in a bow here. Would you present that, give up the 2nd round pick, or we don't have a 3rd, so we have to figure something out, but have to pay him $30 million a year at 30 years of age? Do you give him that, knowing what you get consistently? Or do you just say, you know what, the draft is deep at the defensive tackle, defensive end position. I'll just take my odds and go and get a pass rusher, and hopefully it works out. But with Trey Hendrickson, you know it will work out. GM, Brandon Bean / Z-Bot. Are we making a deal?
I have no leverage here. Somebody's going to pay him that money. Somebody's going to give them the draft pick to acquire him. If Brandon Bean wants a top edge rusher like Trey Hendrickson, he's going to have to pay that money, and he's going to have to give up the draft capital in order to acquire him. So I could sit here and say no, but if I say no, somebody else is going to do it. Here's what it comes down to. How bad do the Buffalo Bills want to acquire the guy that they have been trying to acquire for years now? How bad do they want to fill the void that has been the edge rushing position on this defense? How bad do they want to take another stab, their best chance at getting over the hump in the playoffs and getting to a Super Bowl? And in order to do that, if the answer is as bad as possible, if the answer is I want to go all in order to at least attempt once again to get this done, then the answer has to be yes. I'm going to have to pay that money. I'm going to have to give up probably a 2nd round pick. Here's how I see it. Okay.
Talk to me.
Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson. One of those 2 players needs to be a Buffalo Bill by the end of this offseason. One of those 2 players has to be at the top of the priority list for Brandon Bean. If he's unable to get it done, it better be because one of these other teams that did get it done made such an offer that it was impossible for the Bills to pull it off. One of these 2 guys needs to be a Buffalo Bill. Myles Garrett is a better run defender than Trey Hendrickson. It's not really close. He's a better overall defender. But the Bills have been looking for a guy to get after the quarterback. And that is what Trey Hendrickson is best at, maybe the best in the league over the last couple of years. Myles Garrett should be top priority. If there's an ability to get Myles Garrett, it should be Brandon Beane's number one goal this offseason. But as we talked about, the Trey Hendrickson trade situation is a certainty. The Myles Garrett one seems like it's likely, but it is not a certainty. The Bengals are shopping Trey Hendrickson. He is on the table. It feels like Myles Garrett will be on the table, but he's still being prepped up back in the kitchen. He hasn't been served yet. Trey Hendrickson is on the table waiting for somebody to take the lid off the tray and dive in. And this is where I am all in on the idea of acquiring Trey Hendrickson if Myles Garrett is going to be a guy that is not going to be dealt by the Cleveland Browns within the next couple of weeks or a month here. If they're going to continue to dig their heels in on it, Brandon Beane can't wait around for him to become available because somebody's going to swoop in and get Trey Hendrickson. And this is the problem that is created here. Trey Hendrickson likely will be dealt prior to Myles Garrett. So Brandon Beane is going to have to be sure that that deal isn't going to happen anytime soon. And if it's not, I have to shift gears to Trey Hendrickson. Even though I prioritize Myles Garrett, I don't have the luxury of waiting around to get that done because somebody else is going to get it done with Trey Hendrickson. So to answer your question, am I making that move? Well, it's going to come down to a couple of things. One, how bad do I want to do it? And the way I see it right now, the Bills, the only thing that separates them from being that one notch better that it's felt like they've needed to be in order to get to where we want them to get to, this is the move that has to be made. So how bad do you want to do it? And to me, I think that there's nothing else currently out there that makes more sense than being all in on the edge rush position for a guy that you know is going to produce. And that's either Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson. So then you move to the next question. All right, well, how are we going to get it done? Trey Hendrickson's on the table. And the clock's ticking. Someone's going to make a move there. Is Myles Garrett on the table? Now, if Brandon Beane is in talks with Cleveland and they continue to dig their heels in, I don't think that you have the luxury of waiting around. So I'm in on if the Trey Hendrickson move has to be made sooner than later because of the idea that someone else is going to make it and because of the idea that Garrett isn't going to be moved as easily as we might hope. I would hope Brandon Beane doesn't, sit around and get gun shy on making a move here because you could lose out on both of them if that ends up being the case. Long story short, though, one of those two guys, to me, Rico, has to be a Buffalo Bill by the end of the offseason.
So I think Silas mentioned this. He's like, if you look at TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson. So I put up 59. I said from 2021 to 2024. And by the way, the real, I am not sleeping on Javon Solomon. That's my guy. I'm waiting for him to have a massive year. But it's going to take some development. So here, I found this very fascinating here. So TJ Watt. So the last 3 years, these three players, all right, 59 games. So they're all within 7 games of one another. Okay. Nothing too crazy. 7 games is 7 games. It is what it is. Right. I'm looking at the sacks. Look how even they are in the sacks. Somebody was trying to tell me that Trey Hendrickson is not near these guys. No, the last 3 years, this is what you're looking at. 57, 60, 58.5. Right? Now, TJ Watt is former defensive player of the year? Thank you. Trey Hendrickson is the only one that has won defensive player of the year. And he could be had. TJ Watt's not available. Myles Garrett is not. You have one of the best pass rushers in the game. Why wouldn't you try to go and get Trey Hendrickson? I can't see why people are having a fit on trying to go get him. And my man Silas is saying defensive end is not our issue. I believe he's talking about defensive tackles our issue. Well, listen, the whole defensive front is our issue. I mean, I don't care how you want to look at it. One affects the other at the end of the day. So I like what you said earlier, but when you're like, someone's going to pay. Someone's going to pay. But if that's what we're missing to get over the edge, and you saw what the Eagles were able to do to the Chiefs and dismantle them with simply a pass rush, obviously a great game plan, you think the Bills will be ready to go after a defensive end that changes the game, that affects the game. I don't see why not. Now, here's where the wrinkle comes in. Some fans are not going to like this scenario. I'm thinking out loud here. How did you feel about, I'm going to put you on the spot here, okay? And I want your honest opinion. I don't want you to kind of pander to the folks in the chat. No, Walter will be back. I got on his ass. He wasn't going to try to rattle me today. Not today.
He bounced out?
He bounced out. If he bounced out, he'll be back later on. But let me put some on your mind. And this goes for the chat as well. How did you feel about Matt Milano returning this year? And how did you feel about his play?
I was happy to see him return. I thought at the end of the year, we were getting shades of what we were hoping to get out of Matt Milano all along.
Okay, cool. Love that. What if the Cincinnati Bengals came to you and said, I'll give you Trey Hendrickson. You give me Matt Milano. We swap some picks here and there that makes it work. You get a defensive end pass rusher that you desperately need. I get an athletic linebacker that I need that's great in coverage. Let's make a deal. Are you in? Trey Hendrickson with some picks, depending on where you get it. Matt Milano goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. Are you making that?
And then who do you have stepping in for Milano?
Dorian Williams.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But I don't want to sway you. I'm excited about that. I just want to see where you stand. I'll give you my pitch. Here's the deal. Matt Milano is on the back end of his career, but he's still damn good. Matt Milano is coming off 2 pretty big-time injuries, but you saw shades of it. And I love what you just said there. I saw shades of Matt Milano. With a full offseason healthy, him and Terrel Bernard will kill the game. However, he may not return to the old Matt Milano. Why not move him while he's at the highest of highs right now? Because he ended the season with the Bills. He's coming back. He's probably going to be as good as possible and as best as he can, and put him out there. Or we can trade him now, where he still has value, and you can sell high, and we can bring in Trey Hendrickson, offset a bit of a contract from Matt Milano, swap some picks. Bob's your uncle. Are you making that trade?
With as difficult of a decision as this seems to be for me, it tells me that it's probably a fair one. Usually when a deal is being put on the table and you have a really tough time considering it, not because it's so crazy that you couldn't believe it happening or because you're going to get fleeced or whatever and there's no way you could, sign up for it. When a deal is tough because you're like, man, I'm thinking I might, I'm thinking I might not. At the end of the day, in order to acquire the guy that you've been looking for, you're going to have to probably make an uncomfortable move. I would probably sign up for that. Yes. I need to see what these Bills look like with a guy that has shown the ability to lead the league or be towards the top of the league in sacks. I need to see what it looks like. They've been trying for so long in order to get it. Now, do you get diminishing play at the linebacker position? Maybe a little, right? I think Dorian Williams showed us last year that he could certainly step up to the plate. I don't think he is Matt Milano, but you're going to have to probably part with somebody you would wish you didn't have to in order to get this guy. And thinking about how difficult of a decision this would be, I think it probably means it's fair. And for me, the priority is getting a guy like Hendrickson, like Garrett. So yes, I think I'm signing up for that.
I would absolutely sign up for that without a shadow of a doubt. And I have something for my man Silas, because Silas is like, yo, he can't cover. Hold on a second. I'm lost. All I heard is Milano and Hendrickson. Whatever Rico said, I'm doing it for Hendrickson. There you go. I know my man Walter would be back. I know he'd be back. And Silas is not like Dorian. I love Dorian. And I'm going to show you guys something here. By the way, I think this is hilarious. The Real says, yo, Rico, you should be a politician. I got to tell you a quick story, and I'm going to get to my point. My brother and I were talking today, and at my grandmother's funeral, none of my none of my cousins or my siblings wanted to get up there and speak. And they're like, no, you got to go speak. And I was like, dude, I can't. I've been holding it together the whole time. I get up there and I'm blubbering like a baby, but I'm keeping it together as best I can. My brother's like, yo, have you really honestly thought about it? And my brother's like, he likes to analyze things. Man, you should be a politician for real. I was like, I know nothing about politics, man. I just speak from my heart and just keep it rolling. He goes, you should be a politician. And here comes the real telling me, yo, you should be a politician. I think it's hilarious. Now,
I think you have too kind of a heart to be a politician. That's the thing.
I can't. Two politicians are too. I just can't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I can't be fake. So here's my deal. Okay, I know we both can't. We cannot. My man Silas said he can't cover. That was the big thing, and that's everybody. Everybody's on his ass about covering. That's the one. Y'all know Dorian can't cover a bed with a blanket, right? That's a hilarious comment. So I was looking at next gen stats. I found something really interesting. What does that say? It says yards per target allowed. And linebackers 2024 season, minimum 40 targets. And Bunn allowed 0 touchdowns as the nearest defender in coverage in 2024 and recorded an interception in the Super Bowl. If I'm reading this correctly, 5 yards per target. Look at Dorian Williams, number 2, at 5.6. I'm not, if I'm reading this correctly, that's telling me that he's where he's supposed to be. And if they're targeting him, he's only allowing 5 yards, maybe 6. I don't know if that's horrible. This is where I'm not a analytics guy, stats guy. But if Dorian is amongst the Zach Baum that just got himself a contract, right? Anzalone, that the Detroit Lions like a lot. I mean, shoot. I will take, if we can get Trey Hendrickson in and we move on from Matt Milano and my man moves up, I'm just saying.
Do you think that would also, is that a straight swap? Or are you also thinking a pick in there too?
There's going to be a pick. There's going to be some pick swaps because they got to get something. Trey Hendrickson is not just going, but they're getting a player. So we might have to kind of go to the point where we got to give up. We got to give up a 4th. They give us a 6th. It's got to be, because player for player, we gain something. And so do they. They don't have a cover linebacker like Matt Milano. We do not have a pass rusher like Trey Hendrickson. Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals should absolutely be talking and trying to make something happen. Now, can Dorian Williams work on it? Yes. The dude, 2 years into the season, he was at 100 tackles before Matt Milano came back. He was amongst the top leaders in tackles. The boy is a tackling machine. You allow him to be on the field and develop into a cover linebacker and get better at it, bro. You got the better coverage linebacker in Bernard. You let Dorian just go after it like a hound dog. Come on. That is a no-brainer to me personally. Some might not agree with it. Some might not like it, but I really urge you guys to really think about it. You got Matt Milano on the back end of his career with those 2 big-time injuries, and you have a team that had a horrible defense last year that is in need of a coverage linebacker, and we gain a big-time pressure pass rusher that can actually get after the quarterback. And oh, by the way, he's very familiar with Pat Mahomes. He's very familiar with Lamar Jackson. This is an absolute no-brainer. Are you in with me?
I'm really all in on just about any way to acquire Hendrickson or Garrett.
Today, you're with me.
I'm telling you, I'm really, there's probably far more that I would, in terms of what I wouldn't do or what I would do, there's far more of what I would do in order to acquire one of these guys. Far more. Like I mentioned earlier, I just think this offseason, either Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson has to become a Buffalo Bill. I wonder what the Bengals' willingness to work with Buffalo would be, however.
That's a whole nother ballgame. But here's the big thing though. The one thing that is I'm kind of like, oof, I don't know if I'm ready to do that. Are you ready to give up $30 million a year for Trey Hendrickson? And he's 30 years old right now.
The Bills are going to have to pay that top tier money if they want the talent that they've been looking to acquire at that position. They're just going to have to do it.
Demand the same thing.
Oh, 100%.
And everybody will be willing to pay the $30 million. So
that's a foregone conclusion.
To me, what are we talking about here? Yo, bring me Trey Hendrickson, and you know how McBean does. Yo, I'll pay you. I'll give you your money because it's all about the guaranteed money. It's all about guaranteed. However you want to slice it, it's all about the guaranteed money. So at the end of the day, if we can get something cracking, bro, I'm all in, baby. I am all in. My man Walter comes in and says, yo, if we're getting pressure with 4-man rush, who gives a damn about Dorian Williams and coverage? My guy, you see what I'm talking about, man? Why are we acting like Milano in coverage has meant anything in the postseason? Bro.
I need to see what this Bills team looks like with an elite pass rusher. I need to see it. I have to see it. With Josh Allen on the team in his prime. I have to see it.
The problem with, and I'm not accusing anybody specifically, and I've been in this position myself, and I'm slowly getting out of that. The problem with Bills fans is we fall in love with certain players and we just can't see them go to another team. Bro, we gain here. Yes, we may have to lose Milano. Heck, we haven't had Milano in a year plus. Did you miss him? The defense was still rocking. Bernard came in and had a damn good year. Dorian Williams is only learning. He's going into his third year. Bro, what are we talking about here? So to me, I'm looking at that and I'm like, yo, let's go. See, guys like Salvi's like, yo, Milano's not going anywhere, Rico. My wife always.
See, I'm more interested in working with the draft capital, however, to get Hendrickson or Garrett. I mean, the Bills have a surplus of it this year. I mean, you know what you're getting in return. So what's the hesitation on putting it on the table? And if Cincinnati is going to be more unwilling to work with you than maybe other teams because of the rival there, or at least the perceived notion that those two teams are duking it out for the top of the AFC, that's where I'm still willing to put more on the table. Then I am. Okay. I'm willing to be a bit irrational here. If I'm being, you've been looking for this essentially your whole tenure in Buffalo. You have two guys potentially on the table, one at least guaranteed to be on the table. Make an offer that at the very bare minimum is going to be heavily considered by one of these two teams.
Okay. This is where I was like, I forgot this last part. So financially, how does this work? So I'm no contract guru. Sometimes you got to hit up certain websites and chat GPT and Copilot and these guys, let them figure out the math of how this can work. So I'm looking at those two situations. I was like, okay, so if I can make that, what do the financials look like? And tell me if you guys wouldn't try to make this thing happen. So I asked Chat GPT about if we can make this trade, how can we financially make this feasible for the Bills? So they said Matt Milano, his 2025 cap hit is $15.8 million. His dead cap hit, if traded pre-June, is at $17 million. We're not taking a dead cap hit of 17. We just got out of a $31 million dead cap hit from Stephon Diggs. But post-June, $6 million in 2025 and $11 million in 2026. It makes a lot more feasible to make it happen. So if the Bills trade Milano before June, they would incur a dead cap of $17 million. That's out of the question, which exceeds its cap hit, right? Resulting in a net loss of 1.3. We're not trying to take a net loss here. However, if they designate the trade post-June, they could spread the dead cap hit over 2 years, saving $9.6 million in 2025. Okay? Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals. They're in a win-win situation right now. The dead cap hit, whether he's traded post or pre, it's $2.6 million. They're moving on from him regardless. They're not trying to pay him. So the Bengals save $16 million. So how does this work between both players? Conclusion, here's what it said. This trade could work financially, especially if the Bills designate it as a post-June trade. Both teams would need to weigh in the cap implications, obviously, against our roster building strategies, and that's how they can make this work. So I'm like, so are we? So I asked, are we sure about the Milano dead cap hit? And that's what it came down to. So it could work. We just have to push a couple dollars down the road, and it's feasible financially. 15 mil off the books. You know what I'm saying? We work out a deal. We can work some financially. It can work. Now, how accurate this is, you know how ChatGPT can be a little off and stuff, but that's just me playing a little bit of GM. So financially, Bean will definitely make it work. Push a couple dollars down the road, we good. So if we're really trying to maximize this team and get us over the hump, I mean, we made it to the freaking AFC Championship game, one game away, and we couldn't get over the hump. Why? Some might say this defense let us down again. Whether you want to call it that or not, we're missing something. What is it? And everybody keeps pointing to the defense. The missing piece is on the defensive front lines. We'd hit that if we can get Trey Hendrickson or Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett doesn't seem like he's going nowhere, so push on Trey Hendrickson. That's the way I look at it. Folks in the chat, if I'm tripping, y'all let me know. But if you kind of see where this is going here, and they're like, oh, okay, I can totally see it. Yo, smash that like. Smash that like for my boy Z-Bot. Smash that like for your boy, and let's keep it rolling. So we're some pieces away, and then we can kind of fill in the gaps with the draft coming up, which is coming up very shortly. Holy crap.
I know. The Bills offense has proven they're one of the best in the league. It has been proven that with an adequate pass rush, you can defeat the Chiefs in the playoffs. It has been proven that the Bills do not have that in the playoffs and have been unable to beat the Chiefs as a result. This is the time to do it. You have guys potentially available, at least Hendrickson at the bare minimum. You have a stranglehold on the AFC East for what feels like at least the next few seasons here. I don't see Miami taking a considerable step forward anytime soon. They just seem to be what they are. The Jets, they're more towards the basement than towards the attic. And the Patriots are rebuilding. The Bills have a stranglehold on this division for a while. We mentioned that the AFC West is getting tougher. It might be tougher for the Chiefs to secure a 1 seed in the near future, or at least tougher than maybe it will be for the Bills, as it seems.
Right.
There is more to gain here, maybe overreaching for one of these guys, whether it be Hendrickson or whether it be Garrett. There's more to gain here by overspending for the immediate future than not. And you have got to be able to walk away from the Josh Allen experience whenever it ends, being able to look at the ceiling at night and say, I did my best to have the prime of Josh Allen's career be surrounded by the best team possible. This is the time to do it. And this is why I'd be willing to do more than I wouldn't be willing to do in order to get that guy. And if Trey Hendrickson's that, I'm all in. It doesn't have to just be Myles Garrett. Would I prefer Myles Garrett over the rest? Would he be number one if you're on the playground taking your guy? Yeah, of course. But Trey Hendrickson is still going to be the best pass rusher that the Buffalo Bills have had in a very long time if they were to go to acquire him. I'm all in, Rico. If the news were to flash over my phone, Trey Hendrickson's a Buffalo Bill, you would have a real tough time getting the grin off my face.
You damn right. And this is where Brandon Beane has to understand where the pulse lies, man. You got yourself a nice corner. You'll fill in the other side of the corner. I'm sure of it. You'll develop the next corner. We've been doing it. Dane Jackson, Levi Wallace, like you name it. I mean, Rasul Douglas we brought in, and we're gonna move on from him most likely, right? I feel like I'm missing another corner that we've had. We just happen to know how to develop them. It's just guys like Kyer Elam just don't want that. I don't know what the heck's going on with that guy. That guy's just lost, right? But we've been able to get guys to fill in, and we can get them in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. You've seen it. Free agency. I mean, look at Benford. Benford is balling right now. One of the better corners in the league. So I'm not tripping too much on that corner spot. They'll find the guy that they need. It's that front 7 that's most important. So they're locked down. Our guy, obviously, in Bernard. Dorian Williams is seething. He wants to get in. He's just chomping at the bit to get in. So whether they bring back Milano for another year, and most likely they will, we'll see. But it wouldn't shock me, nor would I lose any sleep if I heard, yo, my man's out. My man's out. So I'd like to see how this free agency period is going to play. Right now, they're doing the homegrown thing, sign some pieces so we know what we're working with, and then we'll make some aggressive play here and there. Where they go, who knows? But I'm looking forward to seeing what Bean does. I'm going to be on Bean's ass this year to see what the heck he does. Not that he gives a damn, but you know what the deal is. We got to put some pressure on him. So that's the way I look at it. That's the way I see it. Let's go from there.
My only issue, though, is if I'm a Cincinnati fan and they made that move with Buffalo, I couldn't think of anything that would make me more pissed off at the organization than that. Like if say this was Cincinnati Fanatics and we were on that end of the move, how sick would you be about it? And this is what my biggest issue with this move is. It's not that Brandon Beane wouldn't be willing. It's not that we all wouldn't love it. And it's not that we wouldn't give up more than not. The only thing that makes me somewhat lean to an idea of them being willing to do it is that Cincinnati really doesn't seem like they have any desire to pay their guys or to do what most other teams would do to retain their guys. And this is what makes me think that they may be willing to make that move with Buffalo. But man, Rico, if we're on Cincinnati's side of things here, holy hell. I mean, how sick are you about making that deal?
Here's the thing. They don't want to pay. That's the problem. They don't want to pay him.
But would you, I'm saying, would you be willing to take less to deal him to somewhere other than Buffalo?
Sorry, repeat that question.
I guess what I'm saying is, would you be willing to take less to deal him elsewhere? Even if Buffalo was offering you more? Yeah.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. If my number was 30, but Buffalo's calling. Oh, okay. I'll drop mine to like 27.
See, this is where I think the Bills might have to make them an offer that they can't refuse. This is what I think you have to make an offer that's outweighing everybody else.
You got to play the game, man. You got to play the game. I mean, I love the art of negotiation. I love it. You don't like it.
Well, I got to tell you, if I'm Cincinnati, they're really like you. Once again, you'd have to make me a deal that I would be a fool to turn down.
Refuse.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Like, this was the Chiefs, for instance. Like, say the Bills were in the Bengals spot and had to move Hendrickson. Even if the Chiefs were offering me, I really can't think of anything that could be high enough to make that move. It would have to be something insane.
I mean, listen. We're just speculating here, folks. None of these conversations that we're having may even come to fruition. But if it does, look out, because I'll be totally excited, 1,000% excited. So when you're looking at this defense, by the way, and Silas made a comment about our defensive backfield being an issue. He says Kyrie Elam got cooked, but Kyrie Elam he's a depth player. Don't care. I mean, he's a depth player for a reason. Yes, he's going to get cooked. He's a liability. We saw it the minute we knew he came into the game. When Benford went out, we said, I knew we were done. Thank goodness Josh is who he is and kept us in the game. But Kyrie Elam, it was absolute buns in that AFC Championship game. And I felt awful for the team knowing that he was going in. If I'm Matt Milano, if I'm Ed Oliver, I'm looking over and seeing number 5. I was like, oh, God. Here we go. I mean, you got to roll the safety over top because he can't. I mean, you saw. I don't got to tell you nothing. This guy was just getting beat like a rented mule. It was whack. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of changes that should be coming Buffalo's way in that defensive backfield. Is it one that I'm worried much about it? No. I mean, we had 16 turnovers in interceptions. We had 32 fumble recoveries. Bam, we're going to be all right. We take the ball away. That's what we do. I think we were top 5 in the game. I think we're 3rd in the league. So it isn't worrying about you. It's that.
Well, the key was not turning it over on the other end too. That was the thing. That was the key. The differential was as good as it gets.
That was absolutely the key. So I'm loving every bit of it. I'm loving every bit of it. Are we staying on football? Because I want to kind of shift gears to another.
Ooh, what do you got for me? What do you got for me?
All right. I don't know if you guys have been living under a rock, but LeBron James.
Wow.
LeBron James had some choice words for Stephen A. Smith at the Lakers-Knicks game. And in a nutshell, LeBron James did not like or doesn't like how critical Stephen A. Smith was on his son, Bronny James. And he approached him at the basketball game and said, yo, keep my son's name out your mouth. He gave him the whole Will Smith spiel. And my man, Stephen A. Smith, I wouldn't say he backed down, but he was like, okay, I'm dealing with LeBron, the father, and not LeBron, the player. So my question to you is LeBron James wrong for going at Stephen A. Smith?
This is tough because LeBron, the father that was defending his son, is also LeBron, the father that brought his son to the team. And when you bring your son to probably the most popular, the most watched team in the league, and maybe one of the more popular sports organizations on the planet, and when you, the father, are probably the most popular athlete on the planet, the idea that there's not going to be scrutiny behind that is foolish. So I understand that the fatherly instincts probably forced LeBron to approach Stephen A. But unfortunately, this is not a standard issue father situation. This is unprecedented. And while I do get the idea behind it, I think this is what comes with the territory. If Bronny James isn't LeBron's son, would he have been a Los Angeles Laker? Would he have been an NBA player this past year? Probably not. And because of that, scrutiny comes with the territory. So I don't know. I think that you're kind of what comes with what comes with the moves made, I think, is ultimately what you sign up for, in my opinion. And I don't know if Stephen A. was necessarily in the wrong. And I feel like when he went on today and kind of said what he said, I still feel like he probably stands by what I feel like deep in his heart, he probably stands by what he had initially said.
Was Stephen A. Smith out of pocket? Did he say something?
I mean, he basically said.
Did he say anything that was egregious?
I guess essentially what he did, right, is he called LeBron out as a father, more or less, right? Initially. This is very interesting, this whole situation.
Okay, go ahead.
Because you're trying to draw a comparison to something in order to make a take on it. And there's nothing you can possibly compare this to. It's one of the most unique sports stories ever. You're talking about one of the greatest athletes of all time bringing his son onto the team while the father is still playing at an elite level. LeBron's been playing some of the best basketball in the league as of late, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think Stephen A. is necessarily out of pocket. I don't. But at the same time, I also understand the fatherly instinct overcoming you and approaching Stephen A. So I think that there's two sides to this that you could argue are both right in this situation.
See, Stephen A. did nothing wrong. He did his job. His job is to analyze. His job is to critique, if you will. And you know what? Not even critique, is to analyze and give his opinion on a sport that he's been covering since way back. So LeBron coming in after a timeout to grill Stephen A. saying, keep my son out your mouth. Fam, you did this. You told your son to come out of college. He could have been in college. You wanted to make this whole thing about the first time a son and player actively are playing on the same time, same year, same team, all that BS. And he's not good enough to play with the big boys yet. He's just not. So when you get a little bit of criticism towards your son, bro, you need to know how to separate the player, teammate, if you will, from your son. You can't come in and say, yo, that's my son. No, bro, that's your teammate. That's your teammate, my G. So, and he ain't good enough. He's not good enough. Because if he was, we'd see a lot more. He's barely doing all right in the G League. He's doing all right, but you're playing in the G League. That's probably where you really do belong. But with the big boys, fam, nah, man. His younger brother is going to be better than him. So Stephen A. getting flack because LeBron came through. Bro, it makes LeBron look soft. Bro, you're not a parent. You can't be a parent. You can't wear both hats at the same time, especially when you're at your job. You're in the middle of a game. You don't talk about my son. Bro, I am going to talk about your son because he's on the team. And that's my job. Fam, I do not like this from LeBron. I don't like this at all. Like, I get it. I commend it because that's your son. That's your blood. Because I would die for my kids. But, bro, you put him.
That's the key. You can't blame him for the fatherly instinct coming out because at the end of the day, he is a father. The problem is he put his son in a situation that was always going to draw scrutiny. And Stephen A just happens to be the biggest sports personality on the planet, right? He just got $100 million extension from ESPN. So when he says something, it makes the rounds far more than when somebody else says something. Yep. But you mentioned it earlier. Stephen A was doing his job. He was pretty much saying what I think a lot of people felt. Once again, if Bronny James is not LeBron's son, he's not on an NBA roster. In fact, currently, right now, he's back down to the G League, like you mentioned, and he is LeBron's son. LeBron had to have known that this was going to be the reality when this was done. And we talked about this when this initially happened. I think it's one of the coolest things that's ever happened in sports. Whether we all knew that Bronny wasn't going to be a significant impact for the Lakers as a player. The overall idea, however, that LeBron, still playing at a high level at 40 years old, was able to have his son reach the NBA and play on the same team as him. One of the cooler stories ever.
Yep.
But the idea that wasn't going to draw scrutiny because Bronny simply was not ready to be an NBA
not at all
player, I mean, is crazy. So where I do get it, because I feel like you can't fight the idea of wanting to defend your kid. Unfortunately, I think you're correct. LeBron does look worse in this situation than Stephen A because this isn't a standard father-son situation that we can draw any comparison to. And it was always going to result in what it ended up resulting in. And that was plenty of people having critical things to say about the move.
I mean, he didn't say anything out of pocket. All he said was, Bronny James is in the NBA because his father's influence. Facts. Nobody would have drafted him at all. He probably would have been, he desperately needed more time collegiately. He had the heart issue that didn't give him a full season collegiately, and then all of a sudden he goes to the NBA. Bro, no. These are grown men playing. I don't know anybody in the chat right now. When you're younger, the term old man strength is a real thing. I don't know if you ever played pickup lacrosse or pickup hockey, shinny hockey, or pickup basketball. Bro, if you play pickup basketball and those old dudes that are like 40, 50, 55, when you were back in the day when you were a young buck, if you were like 20, 21, 22, 23, playing against a 45-year-old, a 50-year-old, bro, when they're backing you up in the post, yo, they're strong as shit. They're strong as shit. That's old men strength. So you got a 21-year-old baby coming to the league playing with these 23, 24, 25, 26-year-old dudes that are been working out. Bro, it's a different ball game. Yo, you a baby when this comes to this. So when Stephen A. Smith said, yo, he's here based on his father's influence, and he expressed concerns that, yo, this is not good for Bronny. It's not going to be good for his development. It's not going to be good at all. These are legitimate critique of what takes place. And nepotism is backfiring on LeBron. Shame on him for bringing his son into the game this early when he wasn't ready. And now you're going to feel it. It's just what it is. He'll probably be out of the league in 2-3 years. It's just what it is, man.
LeBron should have known better. If he really wanted to set the record straight with Stephen A. Smith, he should have done it off the court. Yes. That's the biggest problem here. I understand maybe you want to, the father within you, even though what Stephen A. said is justifiable and accurate, I understand you might want to say something. But to say something when you knew everyone was going to make it a massive headline by doing it on the court in your uniform in the middle of a game was not the right way to go about it. And that's why it's even a story.
And there's a lot of pressure. Like, your dad is arguably the greatest player to ever play. Some might say, no, not even close, bro. That's Jordan. Some might say, no, that's Kobe Bryant. That's me. You know what I mean? But he is arguably one of the best players ever. And then he's like, yo, but I want to introduce you to my son. Yo, your son is buns, man. What are you saying? He's not even close to what you put on the court. He's right. I don't know. Have you ever seen son and father duo where we probably haven't seen it. The son had a better career than the father. Maybe Ken Griffey Jr. Did Ken Griffey Jr. have a better career than his dad? Probably. Anybody else? I can't even think of it.
No.
I can't even think. A player where the father's career wasn't as great, was a star, but the son was an even bigger star. Bro, you are the star.
Manning, I guess, and McCaffrey, but it's different because it's not like it was so close to one another.
Right. You just said it. The McCaffrey brothers. I mean, was it Ed McCaffrey?
Yeah, or then I think, Peyton had a better career than Archie. Or than yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, man. Nepotism backfiring. That's exactly what it is. Sometimes you want the nepotism. You said it, Chad. I got you, bro. Nepotism backfired, and now you got to reap what's coming your way. And it sucks because now you have to defend. Are you defending your son or are you defending the player? Well, if you're going to defend the player, what about, you mean Rui Hachimura? I forget. I can't even say his name, right? Well, I mean, I'm a Laker guy. So what about these players? These players are probably like, yo, what about me? You're going to defend me like it is? I know that's your son. Bro, it's a mess.
Well, that's what comes with the territory. Do you think Shadur Sanders would be under the microscope he's under if he wasn't Deion's son? But do you think that every little thing that he does would be analyzed the way it currently is if he wasn't Deion's son? No, but you could also argue that he might not be in the position that he's currently in if he wasn't Deion's son. So obviously there's great benefit to it, but you have to be willing to take the disadvantages that come along with this as well. I think the benefits far outweigh the disadvantages, but you have to be understanding of when they do come along because you're in a different territory than anybody else when you have a father like LeBron or like Deion Sanders, et cetera. You're just in a whole different realm, and you are going to be looked at differently because of it.
It sucks. I mean, I feel for LeBron as a parent. You don't want anybody talking ish about your son because you go home every night with your son. They probably live together still, and your son's probably like, they're not being nice to me, Dad. I don't know what goes on at the James household. I'm sure Savannah is very much involved. They probably say, yo, Savannah probably pulled a Jada Pinkett Smith and said, go get his ass. And LeBron said, yes, ma'am. I'm going to get his ass, ma'am. It's a mess altogether. My man Signified Note says, yo, Rico, Kobe isn't the GOAT. Not even top 5. Can't be the GOAT when you're Shaq's Robin for almost 10 years. Stop your bullshit. Okay? Don't play with me. Don't play with me, son. Listen, that's a sore spot for me. Was he Robin? No, I think it was Batman and Batman. Batman A and Batman B. You know what I mean? They were both alpha males handling business. You know what I mean? But Shaq, it was a different time back there, bro. But the fact of the matter is this, he was able to do it without Shaq. So don't talk to me about that. You know what I mean? And Shaq had to go and find another Kobe to get it done. He went to D Wade, got it done with D Wade. Don't play with me. Listen, I talk football, but I know my ball too, bro. I know my ball too, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Richie was saying earlier, by the way, we missed one from Rich. I think we missed one from Alden too. Richie was saying we have to remember, yes, we had a top offense last year, but our schedule helped too. Not to be negative, but a cupcake schedule helps. Super Bowl 60 no matter what. Richie, have you taken a look at the away schedule for the Buffalo Bills in 2025? Because it might be one of the more favorable schedules I have seen. I continuously look at what the Bills have to go up against on the road this upcoming year, and it's hard for me to find a loss. I'm not kidding you. I'm going to pull it up for you here. If you want to talk about schedule here and how that might benefit your team. We talked earlier about how we think the Bills are in a beneficial spot being in the East compared to maybe what the Chiefs might be going up against with an increasingly better West as time goes on here. Look at this away schedule as it stands right now for the Bills in 2025. Because go ahead and point to the loss, please.
Ooh.
The home schedule is a gauntlet. No one's denying that. You got the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Bengals at home. Not easy. But, man. Well,
that's a tough one.
Is that not 8 wins? Or is that not 8 wins to you on the road? 7-1 at the worst?
7-1 at the worst.
Yeah.
Who's that one coming against?
I don't know. Maybe out of the pool of Pittsburgh, Houston, Atlanta, maybe you drop one of those.
Who you dropping it to?
None of them. To me, I have a tough time arguing.
8-0 on the road?
I got 8-0 on the road. Sorry to sound,
listen,
sorry to sound like a homer delusional.
You better bet US, put the money on there and go for it.
Yeah, I hate to sound like a homer delusional fan, but I have a tough time sitting looking at myself in the mirror arguing which one of these is going to be a loss. I'm taking the Bills up against any single one of these teams. So you got 8 wins right there. Then I'm looking at this the top up here, and I don't know. I mean, when's the last time the Dolphins have proven they're going to get a W in Buffalo? The Patriots rebuilding, the Jets, 3 more wins, the Saints. I don't know. This schedule to me is not one that I look at and think the Bills are in a rough spot going into the 2025 season at all.
Buff Daddy says, yo, why the F do we have to keep playing Casey every damn year? Because it makes for good TV, brother. It makes for good TV. People watch, the viewership goes up. It's just that's how it goes down. That's how it goes down, brother. That's how it goes down.
I mean, look, obviously, like the chat's saying, will they probably drop one on the road? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that it's tough to. Yeah,
it's always one game.
But
there's always one game we know that, yo, how the hell did we lose that game?
I know it.
And
but
why?
man, if you were to handcraft an away schedule that had to have at least some degree of difficulty, would that not be what you'd personally choose? Man, when that first got revealed, that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wow. If you want to find a favorable away schedule throughout the league, the Bills might have the top of the list. The home schedule, certainly no cakewalk. The AFC champion, the Super Bowl champion, the Baltimore Ravens, who you played in the divisional, and the Bengals, who will surely be better, I would imagine. But
that's a good schedule.
I mean, to me, how do you not see another at least 12 wins on that schedule?
It looks really good. By the way, side note, this wine has been going down freaking smooth.
What do you got going there?
Listen, I got this Californian wine. I guess I gotta buy all the California stuff before. You should see our liquor stores. Our liquor stores right now, because of this whole tariff thing, we wiped every last, American bottle bourbon gone. So like this California wine, hopefully I can go find it somewhere, because this thing hits. This thing is going down like juice. I've never had a full glass of wine ever. I can't stand it. I hate wine. Listen, let me tell you something. I was never a wine guy. I hated wine. Hated it. Until one year I was like, yo, you know what? I got to be grown. I see grown folks having wine, having sangria. Have you ever got a glass of sangria? That's the only wine-ish type thing I'll drink is sangria. I don't like hard liquor. I'm not a hard liquor guy. You guys already know this. You guys made fun of me before. I like my, I like my fruity drinks. If it tastes good and it gets me where I need to be, why not? See, I'd rather drink a glass. Wine is shit. Yo, if you have a good glass of wine. No, he's saying it's my shit. Slick likes it. Oh, wine is my shit. Yeah. I'm not kidding you. Is a low-key flex. 2 glasses can get you kind of like, oh. I'd rather drink Burnett's on the rocks, an $8 bottle of Burnett's on the rocks, than I would a $500 glass of wine. Not even what the heck Burnett's is. What is Burnett's? Burnett's is about as cheap and bottom barrel of liquor as you can possibly buy. It's the liquor you buy in college when you have $10 to your name. Like a Colt 45. Blue Bernies is what I came up on. Blue Burnett's. It was as thick as glue because of the amount of syrup that was in it. But that was what we were drinking in college, and I'm not kidding you. Right hand to God, I'd take a glass of that over a $500 glass of wine any day. I can't stand wine. And that's what's weird. I don't know why, because I love hard liquor, but give it a try. Give it another try. Dude, I have. It's just there's nothing appealing to it. Nothing appealing about it to me. My man said Charles Shaw wine. You got to try that. My man Richie said Burnett's will give you the worst hangover of all time. Oh yeah. I mean, it's basically motor oil. You could put that in your car and probably drive 100 miles before it gave you problems. Let me tell you something. This one right here, this is a big bottle too. And it was like, I think I got it like here. I just killed it. I think I had like 4 glasses. It's fantastic. Little 8%er. Nothing too crazy. You know what I mean? Fruity. Oh, some. White Zinfandel. Great wine. But it was red. Or was the glass just red? No, it's like what you want to call it. It's got a bit of a little something to it. You know what I mean? But while you're sipping, why don't we go back to the James Cook topic that you're so happy on speaking of? Because we missed this one from Alton. I'm loose right now, so yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm on it. Perfect time to get you. We missed this from Alton earlier. He says the disrespect towards Cook is all caps wild. Hot take. He deserves a new contract over Shakir and Bernard. Imagine saying Cook needs to earn it
when he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, 2 1,000-yard seasons in a row. He needs to earn it. Alton says to you, Rico, F out of here on that idea.
Alton Venezuela is always on my ass. I love that guy, though. That's my guy. Alton, let me tell you something, man. You have to look at it in a way where, first of all, you're absolutely wild for telling me that James Cook needs to be paid before Khalil Shakir and Bernard. First and foremost, if I were to pay any one of those guys first, because I remember I had this conversation with Carl Jones this summer, or excuse me, during the season, and we were talking about candidates that needed to be signed and who should go first, and so on and so forth. And he had, funny enough, Carl Jones had Benford last, and he had James Cook near the top. I bet you if I were to ask him now, do you change your mind? Would you have signed James Cook before the guys that got signed? Maybe he changed his mind, but I think they got it right. Khalil Shakir in the slot. We like what he does in the slot. He's only going to get better. And you sign your middle linebacker that is solid. How are you going to sign the running back before the middle linebacker and the corner as well as your receiver? Bro, you tripping. Hard body, you tripping, man. Oh, I can't even believe I'm actually... Yo, Alton, you're pissing me off right now, bro. You pissing me off with that shit. You trying to make me upset, but I'm not going to let you make me upset, bro. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. James Cook, good player. But this is we've talked about this at length. Bot and I agree. He doesn't have leverage. What are you going to do? I'm holding out. They're going to laugh in his face and say, fine. Hey, James Cook is holding out, y'all.
Yeah, there's no way he's holding out. There's zero chance.
Exactly. You don't have leverage. If you had leverage, then yeah, we got you. For instance, if Greg Rousseau, they gave him that 5th year, and this year he came in and had 17 sacks, and he goes, all right, guys, I want to get my money now. He'd have leverage. You don't have a great pass rush. I just gave you 17 and a half sacks. I want a new contract. We're not ready to pay you. Then I'm going to sit. I'm going to just chill. I want my money. I've earned it. But you don't have the leverage. You don't have the leverage, James Cook. You can eyeball emoji all you want. You don't got it. Quit listening to your brother. And folks, I don't hate James Cook. I actually gave him a lot more love this year because I thought this guy is deserving of a contract. He is deserving of a contract.
Yes.
Just not yet. Yeah,
that's what I hate about this whole thing. You can't say that in saying you don't want to pay top of the market money this offseason, it immediately translates to you don't want to keep Cook. You don't like Cook. We all like Cook a lot. We all want to keep him around. But the idea of it having to be this exorbitant amount of money a year prior to his contract expiring, that's where I just don't quite understand it.
My man said you can tell Rico's buzzed. I'm not buzzed. Believe me, I'm not buzzed. If I was
Richie's,
buzzed,
by the way, Richie's saying that Burnett's is the 87 octane. I'm not kidding you. They put Burnett's in NASCAR. When they pull off into the pit, that's what they're putting in the car. Blue Bernies.
That's hilarious. But in all seriousness, though, James Cook will get his contract, just not now. It's just not. You don't have the leverage. Can you imagine him going to like all this and first of all, another thing too, all this emoji stuff. Brandon Beane's like, yo, I wish he wouldn't do it, but he's got that's a message to you, bro. Quit yapping because you're pissing me off even more by you doing all this stuff. It makes me not want to pay you. Now, I don't know if Brandon Beane is petty like that. I kind of would be a little bit, but come on now. Let's just chill out, man. Just wait for it. Here comes Walter. You want to read what Walter said?
Yeah, I was going to mention this because Walt's mentioned this a couple times, and I think we talked about this a couple shows ago with this idea of diving deep into Shakir. If his blocking and snap count was the utmost importance, Davis would still be a Bill because he played over 80% of the snaps to Shakir's 56. But once again, the point I made on this is the point I'll make again here. Shakir wasn't asking for top of the market wide receiver money. James Cook is. Khalil Shakir got a middle of the pack contract in terms of what wide receivers are being paid. If Khalil Shakir was asking for top of the market money, we'd be having this same conversation right now. Rico and I would both say, we love Khalil Shakir. We'd love to keep him around. but there's no way we could justify doing so for the amount of money he's asking. This is kind of how I see the James Cook situation. Khalil Shakir signed a middle-of-the-pack deal in terms of what wide receivers are currently being paid. If he were asking for Justin Jefferson money without Justin Jefferson production, I think we'd all agree that there'd be no way we'd even consider it. Now, James Cook, you consider it slightly more because of the impact he's had and because he has solidified himself as a top 10 back, I would say. But that's the biggest difference to me here, is that you're continuously seeing Cook talk about top of the market money, where Khalil Shakir, that wasn't even in consideration.
Listen, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is this. Are you valuable to Josh Allen? When push comes to shove, if you want to use Gabe Davis, could you trust Gabe Davis when push comes to shove to catch that football? Or can you trust Khalil Shakir to come down with that football? The guy's drop rate is insane. His catch rate, is insane. Listen. Why are we even talking about Gabe Davis? Are you kidding me?
I don't know. That's not comparable to me.
The Jaguars are probably saying, "Yo, we shouldn't have paid that, brother, man." But I guess, we are the Jaguars, so we lost money in him. But I guess we'll see. Maybe I might not be. I'm probably not being fair. Actually, I would
tell you this though: if James Cook, I would imagine if James Cook was willing to take a deal like Shakir did, that was less than the top of the market, I think Brandon Beane would consider making that extension this offseason. Would you not think so as well?
Sure. It's the money he's asking for.
That's the key. That's what it all comes down to.
It's the money he's asking for. If he was like, "Yo, I'll take $8 million, sign me up right now." That's what
I think if he was asking for like maybe 10 to 12, it could be in consideration.
It'd be in higher consideration, but 15 is like, yo, and it doesn't seem like he's budging. I mean, who knows, man? They probably haven't even sat down to really talk. So that's why all these emojis are happening. So when it's time for him to sit down and talk, which will probably be most likely next year, then you could do all that. It'd be so hilarious if Buddy said, "Nah, I'm holding out. I want my contract."
It's not happening.
He won't do that. He won't do that, but I think it would be comical nonetheless. Other than that, I mean, those are the big things that we want to touch on. Was there anything that you want to touch on that we haven't?
I think that was just about it. I mean, we thought this past week was jam-packed with news, which it was. Wait till next week when free agency opens up. It's going to be fun next week. I cannot wait to see the wheeling and dealing that goes down next week. And to what extent the Buffalo Bills are involved will be interesting. But next week's the week. That is the beautiful buffer that is free agency, Rico, between the draft and the Super Bowl. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. By the way, Darius Slay, the Eagles corner, former number 1 corner, was released, I think yesterday or the day before that.
Mm-hmm.
Worth taking a flyer on an older corner? Or do you just kind of, you know what, I'm intrigued. And I want to ask the chat about that. Darius Slay. Are you guys in on Darius Slay? See, my man said no. He said no. I'm intrigued, but I also know like it's probably best to move into another direction. But I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. Silence is doubling down. No, stay away from. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I think that's one of those things that you would only consider if you don't end up getting something done with Rasul Douglas, right? Do you want to bring Rasul Douglas back? I think I'm personally done with Rasul Douglas. I don't know. I mean, depends on what. I'd be willing to
starring shit.
I think the Bills are going to go secondary at the top of the draft.
Okay, let's talk about that real quick, because I have not personally dove into the draft like deep. Just I'm at the surface. I'm just looking. I haven't really gonna head first in trying to look into that. If we got the first round pick and we got 2 second round picks. First position, 30th pick. Are we looking at a receiver at the number 30? Are we looking at corner? Or do we go straight to the trenches and get our defensive end / defensive tackle? Assuming the Bills, just in this hypothetical, don't move any of their draft picks,
I'm of the belief that their first 2 picks will be on the defensive side of the ball. I think
Offensive side of the ball.
defensive side of the ball.
Oh, defensive. Excuse me. Okay.
I think one of the picks is going to be dedicated to the secondary. I think one of the picks is going to be dedicated to the defensive front. That if I had a crystal ball, or if I had my ability to throw my hat in the ring on guessing what would happen, that would be my guess. And now what order that might be, I don't know. Whether it be D front first, secondary second, I'm not sure. But
So
if I had to take my best guess, that would be my guess.
They're saying that the defensive line is the deepest. I think more specifically, defensive tackle is where it's super deep. So like we may not need to necessarily hit defensive tackle because it's so deep. So we might have to hit one of those, you know what I mean? Maybe a corner. We might have to draft a corner. I mean, look what the Eagles did, man. They got 2 prime corners and they have them for the next 4 years easy. Locking that stuff down. That's crazy. It'd be nice that we can get a young corner, a stud young corner right beside Benford. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be something.
I mean, look what the Eagles did. A couple of draft picks.
I'm telling you.
One in the secondary, one up front, and all of a sudden they went from one of the weaker defenses to the league's best. If you can nail it, right? That's why I think you got to put assets towards the defense early in the draft, and you got to take a big swing in free agency or a trade. In particular, a trade, because the free agents available. I mean, you're going to need to make a trade if you want to get that big signing on the edge. But it'll be interesting. That's what's going to keep us all dialed in this offseason, just monitoring. It's not a matter of if, Rico. It's a matter of who and when. That's kind of how I see it.
Listen, I think you're onto something. So, recapping what we talked about tonight. Obviously, our guy Terrel Bernard, aka the Nard Dog, gets himself a contract at $25.2 million guaranteed. That guarantee is nothing crazy. It really isn't anything crazy. So I think Brandon Beane yet again is up to his old, I don't want to say old tricks, but he's up to his, you know what I mean, moving things around and making the contract much a team-friendly contract. And you love to see it. And now we await to see what happens next. Does he bring in another corner? Does he bring in another one of our young guys, or is he now focused on the draft and free agency? We'll soon find out. But I like what Brandon Beane's doing. We're watching, we're waiting. And then we touched on Trey Hendrickson, Myles Garrett, and how to acquire them. And if we do have to acquire them, can we do it via trade? Well, including Matt Milano. Are we in? I think most of the chat understands what's going down. And are they in? That's a whole different ballgame. So we'll see how that plays out. But I would not be shocked, and what Z-Bot said, if he woke up one morning and said, oh, we got Trey Hendrickson, and they move Matt Milano, he wouldn't bat an eye. He'd be like, let's roll. Let's do it. That's a whole nother ballgame. 30 mil is what I just can't get my head wrapped around. 30 mil to Trey Hendrickson. But we wouldn't bat an eye if we gave it to Myles Garrett. But yet, they're similar in terms of production and numbers, in terms of sacks, because that's what matters at the end of the day. So that's a whole.
He's one of the it guys at the end of the day. You might not be able to get the guy, but yep. This is what I immediately thought of when this situation kind of unfolded. The idea of Hendrickson being allowed to seek a trade. I went back to this. I don't know why this is what I thought of, but this is what I thought of. So when I was a kid, one Christmas, I wanted a PlayStation 3. That's what I asked Santa for. Okay. And Christmas Day came around, and Santa brought a Wii instead. And at the time, it wasn't necessarily what I wanted. It wasn't at the top of my list. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. But I ended up loving that damn Wii. Loved it. Played the hell out of it and loved it. And the reason I thought about this is because even though it wasn't exactly what I asked for, what I ended up getting wound up being great. And even though it wasn't the top of the line thing, it wasn't the flashy console on the market at the time, it was better than nothing. Santa could have brought me coal. Could have left me with the PlayStation 2. Could have kept me playing the old console. Brought me the Wii. And even though it wasn't exactly what I asked for, I loved that thing. It might not be exactly what you want. Everybody would want Myles Garrett, but what you're getting is still awesome. still much needed, still a ton of value. And I think it takes you over the top. So I just think that it's one of those situations where it might not be as sexy as Myles Garrett, but I think in terms of what the Bills need and what you would get to fill that need, I think it checks that box. And that's all that you really could hope for.
Yeah, it does. I think you're right. I'm gonna keep it there because it does. And this is where we have to kind of like wait and see approach and see if it goes down. By the way, I see a lot of people going in the chat. Walter's going back and forth. Alton's getting in there. My man said, "Yup, people getting mad for him asking for a raise like they never asked for a raise at their jobs." I mean, you can ask for a raise all you want. Doesn't mean you're gonna get it. You can ask all you want. You can ask for time off all you want. PTO, I think is what they call you. You Americans call it PTO. Get the PTO. Ask for it all you want. You're not gonna get it. Off the kilter question for you, because I saw this happening a few times. We're going on daylight saving. I don't know if you've been seeing this question being circulated all over the internet. Would you prefer if we stayed at one standard time? More daylight morning where the sun comes out sooner, or more daylight in the evening? What would you rather?
Oh my God. Easiest answer ever. Sign up for one singular.
But which is it that's the one? And this goes to everybody in the chat right now.
Lighter out at night. Not even close. When it gets dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's the most depressing time of the year. It's the worst part of that time of year. It's the worst. Everything is the overall vibe of life is infinitely more positive and happier when it's lighter out later in the day.
Don't you like that morning
Nope, doesn't do anything for me.
Starts the day sooner. You're like, yes, let's go.
Nope, could give a rat's ass about it. When it's light out till like 7:30, it's the best part of the summer. That's that to me is the single best thing about summertime.
My man Alta says, "Yo, I actually like fall back."
Really?
To me, that's the worst. Some people are more so, "Yo, give me daylight in the day. Give me it sooner. Let me get up to the crack of dawn. That the sun ray comes on me like this. Like, yo, let's go." And then by the afternoon, by 6, sun's out. All right, cool, no big deal.
The fall is the best season of the year for so many reasons. Its biggest pitfall is the fact that it gets dark at night, or it gets dark early in the night. Yeah, I'm not even that
at all.
Yeah, there's no need to play GM Simulator on this one. That's the easiest decision of all time. Time.
You'd be surprised. There's some people that are like, yeah, it's overrated to have the sunlight in the evening. I'm an early riser. I want to be able to get up and like nothing worse than when you get up, you're like 7:30. It's like it's still kind of dark out. What? When it gives you that, let me get up there and get some power and get out there. Now, I'm trying to sway you one way, but I'm 100% with you. Give me the daylight in the evening, more. Can you imagine like patio time? You know what I mean? Have a drink, have a barbecue with the fam, all that. It's the
best. Everything about life is more positive because of that. Everything just seems more dismal. The darker it gets, the earlier the darker it gets earlier in the day. It just feels like you're losing the day.
It does, in a way.
Like 9 p.m. If it was light out to 9 p.m. all like year round in the States, oh my God, I would love that. I would love it.
Listen, you ain't lying, brother. You ain't lying. So I love every bit of it, man. I want to ask you that. I just want to see what your thoughts were. Yeah. And you were resounding, heck no. Give me sunlight in the evening.
Jeff's saying here too, this is the other thing. Like if you do get up early enough in the day and work long enough, you really never see the sun. It's like Severance. It's like Severance in reality. You never see the sun for a lot of people who are early risers who work all day long. By the time you leave work, the standard 5 o'clock, you're never seeing the sun.
My man said, "Yo, move to Alaska. You'll get it."
Speaking
of Rico, listen, I'm up no matter what because I could probably hear him. I got to get him back down to bed.
Oh no,
I'm gonna come up. Well, that's my cue.
That is your cue. Yeah, you got your daddy duty tonight.
The wife went and enjoyed a night out with her girlfriends, so I had all the children with me, and the little guy just woke up because he's potty trained now, so he gets up to go pee now. So Now it's time for me to go do daddy duty. So I'm off to do daddy duty. So,
BF duty done. Daddy duty commences. Get after it.
Listen, wait till you get there, bot. Listen,
I'll be patient. I'll be patient.
There's a lot of us in this chat that have children. So whenever you're having some frustrations and you want to vent, we will be there to listen and give you some supporters.
No doubt about it. But for now, we appreciate you tuning in on a Friday night on the BF channel. Well over 14 of you. 14 of you. Times that by 100. 1,400 of you rocking with us on a Friday night. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll be back with you all next week for a loaded week of free agency. We can't wait. But in the meantime, much love for tuning in tonight. Like button and subscribe button on the way out the door if you could. And enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend. And we look forward to talking to you next week where it should be a crazy week of NFL news. So,
Can't wait.
Much love, everybody. Once again, as always, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk soon. And go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.